Okay, welcome everybody. This is the July 19th regular meeting of the Darien, Connecticut Parks and Recreation Commission. Call to order. We do have a quorum. We have one member who will be joining us shortly. And we have two sets of minutes. How I did this and nobody noticed, I will never know. Maybe we were a little off because we didn't have TV 79 and we were a little distracted or whatever. But anyway, we did review the July 19th minutes and we made a few changes, but apparently I failed to call a vote on them.
Okay.
And when Tamara went back and looked at the very crude recording that Pam did on her laptop, which was difficult to work with, she noticed that. She did include in this month's packet a version that had the very few corrections that we made.
Okay.
So these should be clean and ready to go, but they apparently were never approved. So don't know if anybody had anything else on this new version. Otherwise, I can just take a motion to approve them. Mary Louise?
Yeah.
Okay. Second, Susan. All in favor? Okay, cool. Okay, so now we move on to, that's the old version. Oh, here we go. Okay, so now we move on to the minutes from the last meeting, September 20th. As you recall, TV 79 was not with us. And reminded us all how much we've come to rely on the recordings. We did attempt to record it, but Tamara said that the quality made it very difficult. She couldn't hear some of the speakers, so she just had a lot more trouble putting the minutes together. So she did the best she could, and Kathy and I both went through them. So we've got kind of some marked versions. I think they're in pretty good shape, but just hopefully y'all went through them a little bit more carefully in terms of any things we had questions on. Susan, were you in that meeting, Susan Marks? I didn't think so.
No, she emailed me today and said, I wasn't there.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but I wasn't 100%, so I figured, well, I would find out tonight. So we removed Susan Marks, and she had Patty down as well, and Patty, I know Patty was not there. Okay, so remove Susan Marks. Okay, and then was there anybody else from your
Yeah, Kim was there.
committee that was
And
there?
Cheryl was there.
We have Kim, we
And
have Cheryl, we have Adele.
Yeah.
So the three of you, and that was it.
I think so. No.
Okay.
He did.
Okay. Okay.
Your priority.
So, other than that, oh, and then, Adele, you were the one who made the comment, right? In the public
Yeah,
comment.
it was the two quick suggesting that you add two things to your draft
Right.
minutes. I mean, not minutes. There you go. Draft capital
Okay,
projects.
so now they're in a
So it's Cherry Lawn
backdrop
and
facing a hollow and has holes in it, allowing balls to pass through. And then what was the second item?
it was the traffic study at Cherry Lawn.
Okay.
So one was backstop. After we went round and round, we realized that's what we were talking about.
Okay. Cherry lawn. Yes. Recommended. Okay. Through, this should say, okay, so you're saying there are holes in the backlog. She recommended adding a new backstop to the capital budget. That represent it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? 30th, I think these, really much, but I appreciate other people's input because we weren't quite up to Tamara's usual, but nothing to do with Tamara, she just had tough reporting to work on. Okay, so are those changes we're good? Okay, all right, then if I can have a motion to, Mary Louise? Jim? All in favor? So Pam, I can give this to you, so Susan Marks did not attend, so she can
Same with Patty.
Yes, yeah, I take her off, and then just clarifying that Adele was recommending we add the backstop to the capital budget, and also that she was recommending the traffic study at Cherry Lawn also recommended. So I'm going to take that, and Tamara can clean those up, and then, eliminate all the track changes and get that done. And we did take vote. Right, we have to take a vote. Yes, we did. We did that. Yes, we just did that. Okay.
We did the motion, did we say all in favor? I don't know, did I miss that too?
No, I think we did it. We'll do it
Okay.
again. All in favor? I think we did.
It was
We
a
were
second.
good. I think we were good, yeah. Okay, all right, next we will have public comment. Do you have any public comment this evening? No? Okay, we'll move on to our Eagle Scout project proposal. Susan, I will, our usual protocols allow you to.
Sure. I'm going to introduce James Hoffman. He's a
Hello,
Life
everybody.
Scout in Darien Troop 35, and he's also a sophomore at Darien High School. And he's about to present his proposal for a project at the Weed Beach Dunes. And he's figured out a way to put it on this big screen, so we're very appreciative of that.
Alright, so hello everybody, my name is James Hoffman. Thank you, Mrs. Daly. I am a Life Scout and a sophomore at Darien High School. So, my proposal is to remove the invasives in the dune area between the parking lot and the beach at the Weed Beach and replace them with colorful, more aesthetically pleasing, and more ecologically significant natives. There are, as I'm sure you all know, the effect of natives on both people, of native plants on both people and the environment is incredible, and it is already being seen at other areas of the beach where similar projects have been undertaken. So a lot of the invasives could be replaced, for instance, with Rudbeckia, goldenrod, and bergamot. As you can see, they're all quite nice looking, and they are all natives. So this is the spaces that have been outlined in that black line. With those black lines are the specific areas that we were planning to revitalize or bring back the natives and remove these harmful invasives. So that in the corner, if you need like a scale, is the outhouses and that building there and parking lot, obviously. So as you can see, the area is...
What?
It's so bad.
I know, it's so bad.
There you can see there's a lot of bare sand and dead plants towards the edge, which allows erosion to continue and expand, and as we all know, erosion isn't too good. This area keeps the sand from going off the beach into the parking lot, keeps it in place. Dead plants leads to erosion, and where there are live plants, all that green you can see on the ground is mostly mugwort, which is a very, very nasty invasive. It's not beneficial to pollinators, it's not visually interesting, and also it is a common cause of allergies and hay fever. A lot of people tend to be allergic to it, and it suppresses other plants' growths with various chemicals. So it's all around nasty plant you do not want to have. Oh. There's more about it here. There is also southern sandbur and creeping thistle, which, as I was walking around the beach taking measurements of this area, which if you want to know is about 1,076 square meters, as I was walking around and taking these measurements, I felt a sharp pain in my foot. I looked down and there was this, about the size of my fingernail, a giant burr embedded in my foot. And obviously this was not something you'd want to have at a beach, so our project would involve the removals. It was a southern sandbur specifically. It was also creeping thistle, as you can see here. I took a photo of my hand for scale because that was also huge. So as you can see, these invasives are just, they're just not nice. They don't look nice, they serve no ecological purpose, and not only that, but they can also cause physical harm through allergens and through birds and beetles. So this is my timeline. So if I get it, if I get your approval, I will have to take it to the Eagle Board. Then I will have to determine species and find funding. So there are many possible ways. I could go to the Polliner Pathway, the Garden Club, the various other areas. So this would take about 2 weeks. And the timing is still sort of up in the air because we want to see if we take out the weeds now, we probably won't have enough time to plant because we're going into the cold season. So we might get all the planting done now and take them all out in spring, or if it has no negative effects, we could take the the invasives out now and then do the planting in spring. Mrs. Joanne Gabriel is she's a master gardener and she's a member of the invasive invasives remediation committee, and she'll be working with me to determine how we can make the most of this area and what will work with the plants. So, any questions?
Jim?
So I think it's great. It'll make it look real nice. Will
Mhm.
you also be eliminating any seagrass? Is seagrass considered an invasive, the high grass?
No, I think that's
Mm,
part of, that was what we planted in. There's very little of it left. It's been
Right.
cut down pretty badly, but that's on the original list. What
Okay.
James, the plants that he actually showed on his slide were plants that were actually in the space originally spec'd as part of the dunes, and it's actually spec'd for if we do the other side, the meadow project, it's the same plants.
Yes.
So
Nice.
it's gonna
Mrs.
be a replanting versus a.
So we'd have less seagrass there? I mean, when the project was finished, how many years ago was that? It was beautiful, because it was all seagrass, and you sat on the beach, and behind you, instead of
Right.
seeing the cars, you saw, it felt like Cape
We
Cod.
we're looking at the plan that Dan presented to
Okay.
P and Z, so I think he got that from the original Wheat
Okay.
Beach. So we have all the plants, and he actually has a whole grid about how far they should be planted apart. Has a planting directions that are very
Okay.
specific.
Okay, so
So
this
I'd
would
like
be-
it to be the same.
Okay, so this would be a combination then of seagrasses and these
And
plants?
yes,
All the plants have already been provided and placed in other areas of the beach, and
Okay.
Mrs. Daly has gratefully graciously provided all of them to me. So I have all this. I have a ton of information.
Will the seagrass grow back though? It's been cut back.
yeah, so what, it's, a lot of it's still there, but what's been happening is because I think your staff's also been dealing with the mugwort, so they've just been doing a whole, a weed whack of the whole space and taking down even the goldenrod, which we want, and just don't know, right? So I think part of James is gonna educate the staff and our volunteers, like what should stay and what should go.
Mhm.
And I think part of the idea is that nothing should be cut down until spring when new growth is happening, ever, especially if we're putting in the new plantings, because that allows the plants to gain energy and create good root systems and thrive. Because if they don't thrive, then we get mugwort.
Yeah,
So-
there's more seagrass down towards the paddle hut. When I walked down there and looked at,
Yeah.
that has stayed better, and there is some goldenrod mixed in with it. So that section
It'll be
held up
intermixed.
better for some reason.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's, maybe because we ignored it and didn't weed whack it to death when we got the mugwort, it could have been
Whatever,
whatever.
but
Could
But
the
it-
mugworts come back?
Oh,
It always
gosh,
can come
yes.
back, it's like
Mhm.
literally impossible to
It's
take
impossible to get rid of.
When you hope, but if you do provide enough native plants, it's much harder for it to gain a threshold. However, once you weaken the natives, it comes in like a virus on a weakened body and spreads.
Yeah, so we have to still be on top of it, that's a good question. It's not a one-time fix.
Yeah.
It's like all
Ongoing
invasives,
maintenance.
we have to go back on a maintenance schedule and make sure that we're taking that away and keeping the good stuff.
James, what you're doing is terrific, and as chairman of the invasives remediation group, I welcome all the help you can
Thanks.
provide.
Thank you very much.
And I ditto that, and I've been disappointed that the dunes have not been looking as lovely as they did the last few years. It's really been bothering me, and especially as we are hopefully able to proceed with finishing out the other end of the project, have those nice new dunes, and then the old ones are going to look really sad. I think this is really critical, and we have to anchor the dunes. So I think that's one thing we would have to find out, maybe Joanne can help us, is if we were to start removing the mugwort now, but not plant until the spring,
Mhm.
does
That
the
may create a
does the
problem.
Yes.
mugwort anchor
Yeah,
the
whatever's
dune?
there.
That was one of our questions that we were planning on looking further into because we don't want to take it all out and then have all the area disappear. So we want to. That's
Figure
what one
that
of the
out.
things we're working on. Yeah.
I mean, one idea would be to like remove it around like plantings that are actually established that we wanna keep. So
Yep.
that you allow those to thrive instead of having the mugwort kind of creeping in. That would be the only reason we'd go this season, I mean, this fall versus the spring, but it's really up to, he's gonna talk to Joanne and work on it. But that's a big issue for us. We are not gonna take everything out and then have the sand all blow away and
Right,
be very disappointed with that.
All right.
and I will help you take mugwort.
It really is a beautiful area, so it's such a shame, and I would just want to help it come into its own. I do have a little overview here if anybody wants to look back on it. I'm just going to close this out. Oh,
So yeah, Joanne will work with him together and I'll help, and talk to, make sure we're working with Dan, make sure we're kind of using the same types of plants and the planting schedule, so that it'll look the same if we do, if and when we do
Yeah.
Weed Beach Meadow.
Right.
So,
Excellent.
so, can I make a motion?
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion to accept, to approve James Hoffman's Eagle Project to remove invasive plantings and replant at the Weed Beach sand dunes.
And I'll second it.
All in favor? I'll vote with two hands.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you so
please.
much, James.
Thank you.
Would anybody like an overview?
You can give it to our secretary, so
Oh.
we'll take it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
so-
Thanks, James.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very, very much. This is very exciting.
Very well done, thank you.
Thank you,
Do you have
thank
an extra?
you. I do, yes. Sorry, I didn't have enough color. Oh, would you like?
Okay, so, we are gonna spend some more time on the rules. The rules. So we sent out, an updated version, which I incorporated, things that we conceptually agreed on at the last meeting. So, the idea would be to, unless people had specific thoughts about those, the idea would be to continue from where we left off, talk about some of the concepts. And then, we can keep working with the language. So really, where I'm looking, for is to get the, the input from all of you in terms of, do we want to do this or do that? Or do you agree that, gee, we shouldn't say that because it's not right? But you'll see I did fiddle around. One thing I did change or added in, and I think we talked about it, was the beverages, and maybe we just spend,
What page are you on?
4, if you print it out with the
Okay.
track changes and the comments.
Okay.
Mary Louise, we still need to deal with the cherry law. Now that Pam's back from her conference and whatever, we can,
Okay.
Go back.
we can go
Finish
back, we can go back to that. Just we needed her to get back from her, to get through Oktoberfest and her trip and everything else, so.
Yeah,
Right.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
You changed every park to upper lower, and it looks, and not everything's done that way, and I just wasn't sure why we did uppercase. It just looks really
Well,
strange.
I did it because, and this is where you need help to have a lawyer here, but in my professional career, when you were dealing with any kind of document like this or whatever, if something was a defined term, every time you used it, you capitalized it as it is defined. So on page 1, park is a defined term, and therefore you would capitalize it when you're referring to.
It just looks very strange.
That's, well,
Yeah.
if Kathy was saying, that's
It's
sort of document protocol.
Yeah, but there's some places where we haven't done it, so if we do that,
Either I missed it,
Yeah.
or it could be we're using the word in the context of you're parking your car, and then it wouldn't
No,
be
it wasn't.
capitalized. Or I could have missed some, Susan, so those are some of the cleanups we'll have to do.
so I just wasn't sure. So
Yeah.
that's what we're gonna always use, upper, lower.
If we're using the word in the context of the definition, which says means a park or beach or any other area owned or used by the town and devoted to active or passive recreation, including an area temporarily devoted to recreational use, so long as it's under the jurisdiction of the Parks and Rec Commission. So it's kind of like a defined term,
Got it.
to be clear what we're getting at. And that's the same as I added a definition for the commission, so like you only have, because then you don't have to say Parks and Rec Commission every time, you can just say commission.
Yep.
And to make clear that what's the commission, what's the department, who's the director. If there's other defined terms we think we need, then we can add those. So if we go up to page 4, we talked about consumption of alcoholic beverages, and we fiddled around with that a little bit. So this was the language I came up with, and again, we can keep tweaking because we're not voting on these for at least another meeting too. But I just put by those of legal age, because that's critical. Be permitted in any park, and there are the park in defined terms, so long as consumption is not excessive, which I know, yeah. And that it, And that it will, should I say will not, did I forget the not there? That it will, oh no, is not excessive and that it will, say will not, right? Will not result in a disturbance to other users of the park and create a safety issue. It's a little loose, again, did a lot of policy work in my career, and one thing we said is it needs to be kind of clear and measurable. I know excessive is tricky, but
It sounds like if anybody complains, you have to stop, basically, because it's the disturbance piece, or you
Yeah.
call the cops or something.
yeah. So we can keep fiddling with it, but was trying to come up with something that seemed to mirror reality, because we do know that people certainly go to the beaches and enjoy having a glass of wine or a beer or whatever their preferred potion is. That being said, we clearly have to keep in that there's no glass bottles, so.
Right.
um,
There's a-
yeah. Well, there really shouldn't be any glass bottles, so, at all. Okay, so then, dogs and parks really didn't make a lot of change, because we did quite a bit of work on those, in the past. I did, on page 6 now, I tossed a couple things and I just wanted people's thoughts, because we have had some complaints about this in the past, and one is about noise and amplified music, and I did look at a couple other town websites. Stanford definitely has something about music and whatever. So put in a line that basically says, no person shall make unreasonable noise in any park so as to cause public inconvenience, annoyance, or harm. This includes but is not limited to amplified music. So how do people feel about it? We've had complaints about people playing boom boxes on the basketball courts.
What about special events, like Pam had the concert, how it, like someone could say, I didn't really like, I'm a neighbor and I didn't really like the way that was bothering me. I mean, I'm just saying, are we opening ourselves up,
Well, then we would add,
except special events?
Special events.
Or
Yeah.
town sponsored events.
That might be a good way to put it. Or,
That's a good way of putting it.
So it's not just like private, any,
Right.
you know,
Right.
or town approved,
town approved.
because that way, like if someone rents, you know, if we
Okay.
weren't doing the work ourselves, you know, another group.
town, I would say town sponsored or approved. Cause I feel
Well,
that.
kind of town approved implies that it was, you know, that it was in some way approved, even if it was a town site. It would be the bigger category, so we wouldn't have to
Yeah.
differentiate twice, I think.
Okay.
These are instances that we have that Fort Michael event
The
down at
majority of
Lee
the time
Beach in
it's town-
September,
town
and I know they
events,
use,
you
you
know.
know, I know they use microphones.
Right.
Yeah, they
And they
do.
have a band.
Yeah, they have
And they're
that.
band, so, yeah.
Town approved is more
Yep.
than acceptable.
Okay.
That way we protect
Presbyterian,
ourselves.
the beach service.
And that's town approved, right?
Yep. Okay, so good catch, see, this is why.
That's
So
why we
we
work.
look over this stuff.
Teamwork makes the
Okay.
dream work.
And then also tossed in a paragraph about lawn signs, because actually it was put in the bi-weekly newsletter that, but I was like, wow, our rules don't actually say that. So, I think I've noticed, just generally, there haven't been a lot of lawn signs this election season.
Sometimes they're at Tilly, it's like that's a big
There's
spot.
the only one running.
Yeah, that's because it's unopposed, but
Yeah.
what about, yeah, I feel like historically,
There's been a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
At the entrance to Cherry Lawn, there've been a few too.
Right, which they're not supposed to be.
Okay.
And some of that may not be parkland, that might be actually part of the road, because roads are usually actually wide. What the town owns is generally wider than the paved
Yeah.
part.
Aren't you not allowed to put it on town, like town property?
I think that's not allowed either, but
Yeah.
that's not our.
Right, isn't there a
But the
rule?
town hall
Yes.
one always has it.
It's like we got an approval from P and Z, but then we put it in our parks. And if but we only have 8 days after your event to get it down.
Mm.
So,
But it's probably good to do that, I think we
Okay.
should do that.
All right, so now we're up to where we left. My struggling here. Unfortunately, I gotta get little readers out. So is that a?
Question, if I can ask one.
You usually don't take them in the middle.
I just was curious the difference between amplified and non-amplified music. Because it seemed to me that, I'm not sure where you're trying to go, but people who might be listening to, it's not clear from your regulations if somebody could listen to music.
Okay, so maybe we use a word other than amplified. Okay, I think another with me, thank you. Oh, okay, now we can see better. I was trying to think about them, okay. So hours, the only update I made, that, facilities within a park may be, sections of a park may be subject to more restrictive hours, whether you're closing a building or whatever, sooner. Reworked the permits to use parks, and we talked about a gathering being 20 or more people and defining that, and then see, so there, that becomes a group event, and that's a defined term. We kind of thought that was the number over which people are required to get an application, get it approved, pay a fee or whatever, and that would give wiggle room for groups who just, we've seen, not-for-profits or whatever, just get some of their members together and go for a walk in Selleck's Wood and stuff, and we don't want to discourage that, so that was the language we agreed on. And then this goes through the application procedure, and Pam, I just used the, kind of the name that's on the form, and just kind of clean that up a little bit, but I don't think there was any new content there. In terms of the standards for issuance, and we ran into this, Pam, when we had the discussion with the folks about the bus at Cherry Lawn, because the form says within 8 days, and it was like, well, what's 8 days? Is it 8 business days? Is it 8 calendar days? And further complicating the matter is the Darien Town Hall is not open on Fridays, which most common definitions would consider a business day. So that's why I suggest that we make it within 8 business days, which is defined as the days that Darien Town Hall is open to the public. Because otherwise, 8 days is really like 4 days. And that's really very tight turnaround. And then if the application is denied, we do allow an appeal process, but use that same 8 business days. And to go there. And then the question is this really enough time that given the schedule must be, we would have to, warn a meeting, that's the problem, so it's sort of like, the way this is written, we could end up having to call a special meeting if we only have the right.
Can we say at the
within-
next
So in other words,
commission?
so they have to, if Pam is to turn a request down, they have 8 business days to appeal to the commission. And then right now it says we have 14 days. And even if you make that 14 business days, that, depending on when it was, we could be forced to call a special meeting. So, do we really want it something longer than that, or just say that it would be made at our next regular meeting?
I think I like that better.
What do people
personally.
think? Now, you don't know if somebody's trying to have something and,
In such short order.
I'm thinking of some of these,
Like under a month.
the gatherings I've had at Tilly Park over the
There are
last
many
summer
people that-
because something happens in the greater world and people wanna have, peaceful,
yeah.
whatever, and they wanna have it in 2 weeks, and we're sitting there going, sorry, we don't meet till, the week after. So there's gotta be a balance. So, it wouldn't preclude us from calling a special meeting, reaching out to people and saying, hey, this has come up and it really can't wait.
Yeah.
But felt a little bit like, 14 days was really, it just could be tricky.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do people want to say at our next regular meeting?
Or, or if you, is there any room to say something like, unless, you can make an exception or something,
Yeah.
if we need to, and then circumstances, it could be sooner, or something like that, in special circumstances, we could do something sooner. If you thought it was important,
Or the chair may,
you can say that. Well, that's, you're the one calling the special meeting.
Yeah, the
most of
chair
the time.
may attempt to call a special meeting. I'll fiddle with the language. I don't wanna take everybody's time to wordsmith, because that's almost impossible, but I just wanna
But
get
you're getting the idea.
the concept down, that we could, because you could say, I could say, yeah, I think this is where we have to call a special meeting, and
That's your judgment.
it's August, and I can't get a quorum.
Right.
That's just correct. Okay, thank you. Pam, this might be something you and I can work on, but when you get into the alcohol permits, when required, it doesn't really clarify, when I read it, it wasn't clear to me when an alcohol permit is required. For instance, if people bring beer or wine to the paddle hut, which they definitely do, while they're playing, you know, just on Wednesday night or whatever, they don't need a permit. I mean, it just doesn't really,
Right,
it's not
because
really,
it's not an organized
right,
group.
right. This just says, when required, any resident of the town of Darien who is of legal drinking age may apply for an alcohol permit upon presentation of so it just doesn't say, I think maybe what we just want to say is required for
Special.
group events,
Group
which is a
Maybe
defined
ours should
term.
Fold under the group permit.
Yeah.
So it's really,
Section.
I think what we mean is it's really for group events.
Right.
It's not for people having a beer
Individual.
before, after,
Individual.
or
Yeah.
I've seen Weil playing paddle tennis.
Oh,
I'm
wild,
saying
okay,
people-
gotcha,
I've
wild,
seen
yes.
people drink beer while playing paddle tennis.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, not my group, but yeah. I've heard just whole six packs going down in an hour.
Okay. But yes, I agree, Janet, it should be under special events, because that's when we do require it. That's when we pull the permit, right, Pam?
Yeah, I feel
Alcohol
like this
permit
permit
is-
could be part of the group permit section.
Yeah,
Right.
and, absolutely, and this is where, what we were thinking is that we would agree on concepts, get these cleaned up, approve them just to get things in place, but then Kathy agreed she would work with me then over the winter
Wordsmith
to
later.
completely restructure, because this document
Fine tune,
has been added onto and really restructured. Some topics are addressed like 4 different times, and
Yeah.
so it needs a major cleanup, but I kind of looked at trying to do that, and I said, you know, I think that's gonna muddy the waters in terms of discussing what we need to get into place, and I think that's where Kathy can be really helpful. She may even have software, different legal templates and stuff. I mean, I don't even know about like this numbering thing where that came up, or is that something that we have to stick with under town code and how we're assigned numbers? We'll have to look at that. So we kind of thought we'd do a streamlining next, because you're right, Janet, things are in really weird places and really weird orders. So we have to do that. Okay, so type in each group of that. So, okay, but you agree, Pam, that that's what that was really intended for?
Yes.
Because the way it words now, you can't
Right.
tell.
Yep.
Okay. And then the application goes with the department. Okay. Liability, okay, I'm on to addendum 1, Darien Beach rules and regulations. So lifeguards are on duty Memorial Day to Labor Day, annual calendars set by the Parks and Rec Commission. We don't do that. Sorry.
They might have
We
used
didn't
to.
miss much. Yeah,
But
that's
we
right.
don't now.
We don't know.
We don't know, right? No, we don't.
Yeah,
For violations of town regulations, are we going to include the feeding of geese?
Where are you, Janet?
Sorry, I kind of jumped down to it's in addendum number 1, but.
Oh, okay. Let's get there so I can see where we are.
Okay.
Okay, so Pam, this is really the department, so the calendar is set by the department, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm just gonna change that to department. Okay.
You said you took approximately out, and I think that was in there because we typically don't fill that whole time from Memorial Day
Okay.
to Labor Day. I think,
Okay.
isn't that true? I don't think there's ever been a time we've made it through because of people for
Well,
coverage.
weed starts earlier.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
changes, so it's really, I think that should be left up to the
Okay.
department,
Okay.
like to specify timing makes it harder, I think. I know that Hair Trees never had somebody that long, for sure. Sometimes it's only weekends, it depends on what you have, right, availability wise.
Well, typically it's the Friday before Memorial Day that we have them on, so that's where the approximately comes from.
Why don't we say something like it covers some, like keep it more general, and then you guys do the actual scheduling, because I
Okay.
don't think it needs to be in our rules that that's when it's happening.
So either the from and to or the time of day.
Yeah, I just think it's
You would,
very
you would,
specific.
you would say leave both more general.
Yeah, to leave it more general, because it's really up to the department. The commission has never
Right.
weighed in on when you have lifeguards, because
Right.
we can't predict your hiring abilities and your schedules. And you modify them sometimes, at least over the years.
Okay, thank you, got that. And then we refer to the assistant director, I just feel like, I mean, most residents aren't gonna, you know, who's this guy, you know?
He's been there longer than anybody else here.
No, I understand, but the general
I'm just saying.
beachgoer, I mean, Jim
Right.
happens to be down there, so lifeguards. Or just you wanna say town staff, or,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sounds better.
or maybe I'll say director, cause you're a defined term, town staff, blah, blah, okay, thank you, lifeguards. Oh, then here, there's just, it says designated, you know, camp days, it's 10 a.m., so same thing, we'll just kinda leave that out.
Yep.
You know, that's for you and the camps to work out. So no staff available to safeguard swimmers till the time. Lifeguards and one swims with their own. Are the camps responsible at all, though? Or no?
Where are you now?
At the
Group
end of
use?
group use, yes, as if lifeguards are not on duty, one swims at their own risk. But then I'm wondering, because this section talks about groups of children and camps and whatever.
They have staff.
Aren't the camps only there during Memorial Day and Labor Day?
True, but we're still saying if, you know, say we only had 2 lifeguards scheduled that day and.
They do put their signs up that they swim at your own risk.
Okay,
Or, wait, they don't say that anymore. It says no lifeguards on duty.
okay,
They don't even use that term anymore, swim at your own risk.
okay.
That's good to know.
So what do you want this to say then? Because we've got this whole thing for group, do we want this paragraph at all, Pam? Let me ask that. Group, yes, on designated camp days, lifeguards are normally on duty starting at 10 a.m. Groups of children scheduled by permit to use the beach facility are not to arrive any earlier than 10:15. There's no staff available to safeguard swimmers until that time. If lifeguards are not on duty, one swims at their own
Let me
risk.
bring this back
Yeah, it's a lot.
to the office.
Okay.
Yeah, this seems more like operated.
It's kind of, it doesn't feel like that,
Yeah.
it sounds very operational.
And they have their own counselors too. It's not like they drop them off and leave.
True.
Right.
But they may not be trained lifeguards,
Right.
but they probably are
But
not
they
trained
probably
lifeguards.
have first aid and, you know, other, they have to, as a counselor.
You already get a release from them probably too,
I
right?
don't think so.
Oh, yeah, you get a
They
release
train
from all
those
parents.
counselors.
Yeah,
They
so.
have to
They're
have
definitely
first
not
aid.
lifeguards.
Yeah.
They're not lifeguards, but they have a first aid, they have
Maybe
like.
like it's there, so. Anyway, all right, let's look at that. Okay, okay, Janet, am I up to where you were?
Yeah, I mean, this, just under number 7, I mean, I know that we're talking about the beach, but
Well, this is all town regulations now, so. Violation prohibited access would be strictly.
is that still, is that
But it's
still under?
interesting.
You're right,
Well,
it's in the
part of-
beach
it's
rules
part
and
of the beach
regulations, you're
rules,
right.
That's why
Yeah,
I
she's
wanted
right.
to
Oh, no,
reorganize.
well, I said before you walked in, you and I are gonna, we're
Yeah,
gonna,
you're spending some
we're
quality
gonna
time
update and
with
approve the concept, so we have rules that we feel that need to be in place are in place, but then the next step will be a major reorganization.
Yeah,
Yes, but that's our winter project, Kathy.
I know, I don't like the way they're organized now. They
I
make me
hate
mad.
it.
I do too.
I hate it. But I feel like if we, you know, rules that we know we need to have in place
Right.
aren't there.
Yeah, but these do just apply to this.
You're
agenda.
right, you are right.
Beach, yeah.
So maybe this is not the place, even though I feel like maybe at the beach, there could also be a feeding of wild animals.
Oh, there's geese at the beach.
Yeah, yeah.
They found that,
But
they
but I
found
don't
the
actually
cleanup area.
see it in here at all.
Mhm.
There's not like a Tilly specific, you know,
Mhm.
and obviously it applies to other parks too.
Mhm. Okay, so we think we need something in the beach rules for feeding,
Wildlife?
Yeah.
feeding
I mean,
wildlife? Okay.
Could it be anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Who knows what's gonna come up on the shores?
right. And then I put a comment, it says except seeing eye dogs, they now, I think they're called service dogs.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
they
so.
are.
They're called service
They're
dogs.
called service dogs now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then, I noticed that the ball and the frisbee playing on the beach, I see it all the time,
Okay.
like all the time. Are the lifeguards supposed to be enforcing that?
Frisbees
What's the
and
problem
ball.
with it?
Yeah.
I see more so throwing, having a catch.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, there've been times when Doug and I've actually moved because and the sand was getting kicked up, but the kids were having a good time. I'm like, you know what, I'll just move my chair.
I would say they should be, but
Okay.
I can bring that past.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we
should
say,
keep it
can we say that it shouldn't be done so it's interfering with other people's use of the beach? Because,
But you can't say that because what's their idea of, they might not think they're interfering with other people. And sometimes you have kids and then they overthrow it and then you are interfering. So
Yeah.
I think we kept that rule, we've always had that rule because we don't have like long stretches of beach. It's like a very limited area. And for someone to take up half the beach to throw a ball,
Yeah.
it's kind of pretty inconsiderate.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
But then, yeah, it would be up to the lifeguard. The other thing I've noticed, I don't know the name of the game, but it's like a little mini trampoline
Yeah,
thing.
they bang it, yeah.
Yeah.
Spike
that's
ball.
big. Spike ball, yeah.
Yeah, and
like,
they're having a great time, but they're moving and the sand's getting kicked up and it,
it's really fun.
especially if it's, I know, it's fun. And I'm like, I don't wanna be that old lady, I'm like, I'll just go move my
It's
chair down the
interesting
beach a
'cause we
little
were
bit,
thinking about putting a volleyball net at
Yeah.
the beach at some point. I don't know if you remember during the Weed Beach
Yeah.
renovations and
Right.
that didn't happen.
Well,
Okay.
right, and now
It's-
with
the beach is
the
so
new
small.
project, it's possible with the
Yeah,
big
it might
beach
be. We
widening,
could
but
revisit it.
we'd have to
But
revisit.
we do have a net on the far side near the
Right.
picnic area,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
Well, that
So
might
we do
be-
have it.
That might be an idea, is to steer people to a different place on the beach, where they could throw the ball and do spike ball, and you don't need to do spike ball on the beach.
You see fathers and their kids throw, I mean, it's just, and as I said, they're having a good time and.
Well, the meadow will open up a lot more space that's off the beach.
Yeah.
So they can play something like that.
Well, that's the idea for the grass area, isn't it? really?
So we will leave this, but then
I'm gonna
it's,
bring it,
you
Revisit.
gotta bring it back and say.
I gotta bring it back to
But the
Jim.
trick with that is lifeguards, really, their eyes are supposed to be
Oh,
forward on the water, not necessarily.
Right, and I know in Guilford, where I live, you're right, their eyes are at the water, but you can't have any water play with balls or anything in the water.
Mhm.
But I don't know about on the sand, which is interesting, because I know they're always making sure that nothing's going on
Right.
in the water.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, so it's a little bit tricky.
Yep.
Okay.
I hate to be telling some 8-year-old kid they can't toss a football with their friends on the beach.
Yeah, I know. Or, we could take it out, but then, you get in the thing where it's,
I want to have a conversation with Jim, who deals with the lifeguards too, and in terms of what the history is. He's been here 20 years, how has that been,
Yeah.
enforced or not enforced, or do we need it, and why?
That's a good question, that's a great question
Yeah.
for him.
Mhm.
It would really be helpful.
Right.
okay, cool. Okay, Pear Tree Boat Ramp dance, all right, and we have to talk about this later tonight, I know, it's not our favorite topic, but it says now there's no overnight mooring of the launch dock without and I added without approval of the commission. And I was going back and forth, but the fact of the matter is we have been allowing it, we do approve it, so I think it's better that our rules
Oh, we should that.
recognize
Mhm.
that, okay? And then moving to page 12, this was the watercraft, sailing towns, oh, I added in permitted kayaks at Weed Beach and Pear Tree Beach, which we didn't reference here, or as approval by the director following sufficient time during park facility application. So we just didn't reference the fact that we've got all these kayaks down there.
Can we say licensed, because we get a sticker, so for the kayaks that are there, they're the ones that are allowed to stay there, they're ones that we won the lottery, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that are licensed by the,
I think by permitted, I meant like there's a
Sticker.
permit.
sticker, okay.
Yes, there's
Um,
It's like a car sticker.
Is that
almost.
okay, Kathy? I don't think there's a license.
Permitted, I just stated permitted as it was allowed by versus,
Permitted. You guys can work on that.
Okay.
Next
Yeah,
season.
we can figure it
somehow
out.
reference the lottery or have a sticker or sticker.
I just didn't wanna come across as arbitrary.
Yeah, or a paid for sticker, okay. Dinghies, moored, okay, all dinghies used for dinghy storage facility appear to are for access to moored boats only. Do we confirm with the harbor master that we do? Wow, okay. Okay, I wanna say something that we weren't doing. And then the jet skis can only be launched outside the beach, jet skis must observe a speed zone. Is that posted, do we have 5 mile an hour buoys out there?
I don't think I've ever seen that.
No, I don't believe so. I know we have buoys out there,
Okay.
but not speed buoys.
Okay. What I have learned through the coastal commission, Susan and Kevin would know this, that like sticking out and getting approval from the state for the 5 miles an hour, and it's a whole hoo-ha.
Oh, yeah?
It's a whole hoo-ha. Now, maybe it's approved at 5 miles an hour or something, but that may be something at some point we just kind of want to look into. But my understanding from those meetings is we can't just say this is 5 miles an hour.
Right.
That there's a whole process you have to go through with the state. And it's coming up with the coastal commission now because they want to reduce the speed limit around the entrance to Zeeker's Cove at Great Island.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big process. It's a very big process. Okay. We're getting there, people. Some of this is just, adding, stuff's approved by the department. In section 18, page 13, that first sentence I kind of took out because it didn't seem to be useful, in my opinion. And then giving, Pam the authority to sort of determine, the next steps, and then, she would decide whether to bring a violation to the commission.
So, do we have the authority to say that they have a loss of residence status, was one of my questions, we do?
I don't know, that's what I was trying to figure out what that means too.
Yeah.
Like, does
I
that
know we
mean you
can-
don't get the discount?
Yeah, I
Permit?
know we can fine someone, we can suspend them and say they can't come. I don't know if we can take away their residence status.
I think clearly they're a resident of the town.
I know.
I think what you're getting at is that they can't
Get a
register.
seasonal permit.
Get a
So
seasonal
we
permit.
take away their permit,
Right.
so we can say that we're taking away their ability to use the beach or their permitting.
No, I think under number 2, instead of saying suspension for a period of
Yeah.
time, just say, or
Permanent
permanent.
suspension.
Permanent, so you could make that cover both, that it's either a brief period of time or entirely.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's what number 3 is getting at, and they put a new thing in just for it to be
So
done.
is it all right to say suspension of beach privileges for a period of time?
Or
Or
permanent, or permanent suspension, great
Yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
that way it's done.
You're definitely
A lawyer,
married to a
married
lawyer.
to a lawyer,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
seriously.
definitely married to a lawyer.
Yeah, and then we get rid of number 3.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. They bring the violation to the attention of the commission. Okay. Okay, then we're into voting regulation. Again, some of this is super redundant. We're gonna have to, but, and again, the question is, does it mean any park? Because it says privately owned boats or other floating crafts may be brought into, it says any park. I don't mean that. And again, I was thinking of Tilly Pond, people, or Cherry Lawn. So, I think we need to reword that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would really just be,
Any beach?
Weed and pear.
or we just say weed and pear,
Can we just say beach instead, or beach park?
if they're a defined term, which you could make them a defined term.
I'm just
Yeah.
giving you a suggestion, so,
Okay.
because otherwise you're spelling, you're defining two beaches.
Yeah.
And also if you, I don't know, I guess our rules won't cover the new Great Islands, it doesn't matter anyway, because they
No.
have Weed Beach, they have beaches too.
Yeah, I was also originally thinking of the pond in Salix, but that actually is in Dunlap, which is not
Dunlap's,
under our
yeah, on land trust.
authority. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And actually, they don't allow the boats on, or fishing or anything.
No.
That's part of their rules too.
Okay, so they've got it covered,
They
okay.
got it covered.
And again, no overnight mooring on the launch dock, again without express permission of the commission. The rest I think was cleanup. Vessels must be no more 19. That's supposed to be 19, 19 feet, right. Storage for being used to actually permit parachute runners, vessels may no more 19 feet, okay. And they have a sticker, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, okay, okay. Courts rules, racket sports, added the references to pickleball because there weren't more rules. Pam, this talks about courts are available to residents and their guests in the following categories, includes private instruction. I had in my head that we don't allow private instruction, am I mistaken?
We went over this years ago when we were doing this,
Okay.
and there was a big question about the private instruction. I'm not for it. I don't think that there should be instructors making coin on our courts. And so we did bring this up years ago. And I think it was basically stated that private instruction could happen if it was under the Parks and Rec Department.
Yeah,
which
that was
we
what it was
do-
specified.
Right. So
That's
which-
why we specified it.
Yeah, which we do.
Because it's not a group lesson, it's a private
Right, but it
lesson
has to be through
offered by
Parks
Parks and
Recreation.
Rec.
Yeah.
Well, then, in
We
A,
need to be
couldn't we just
specific
say
on it.
group lessons
Group
or
and private lessons.
private
Under Parks and Rec.
Under-
instructions offered by Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
by the department?
That sounds great.
Okay,
Perfect.
and then D goes away.
Yep. We're making this easier.
Okay. Thank you. Gets permissions, the instructor, the resident, oh yeah, and then, because then again, it says private instruction, of course, may be used by residents for private instruction subject to prior instruction permission will be granted, so that goes away then.
That's gotta go away.
Okay.
It's very hard to enforce.
I didn't think we allowed that, so I was sort of surprised when I saw this in here. And then just take out private, and that goes away. Harmless, of course, may be utilized in any purpose for which they are intended designated. Oh, and then I added the thing about, because you said if people are playing, if they've signed up for tennis lessons, they can still go into Wee Beach, even though they don't have a beach sticker, so I added language around that. But that they need to stop with the gate guard. Okay, residents and guests are especially divided. It says by all Darien, are we talking about all Darien rules? We're talking about all Darien Park rules.
Yeah.
I think it's these rules, right? I mean, it's not up to the commission to tell people they've got to apply to every Darien rule, right? Kathy?
Right.
Yeah, no, it's only these rules that
Okay.
we have the authority to actually
Park rules.
issue.
Okay. Darien, so it's Darien Parks.
And again, that's a general thing that we should put.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll stop. I know, it's hard, especially you can't help yourself, and I'm not.
All right. You probably dream this.
Okay, and then Pam, you were this recreation permit, is this different than the parks facility application?
No.
No? Okay, so you same name?
Yep.
Okay. Name, just this section need a leaving. Let it feel the same as we return using the following priorities and criteria, Parks and Rec, whatever. No nonprofit activities and leagues. I'm not even sure what I meant by that. For some reason it seemed funny to me. I don't know.
Maybe it's like other sports leagues, like adult leagues that someone might start.
Maybe.
You know, like if someone decided they wanted to do a rugby league in Darien. I'm just putting it out there.
All right, I can't remember, so we'll leave it alone.
So they sign a contract rate that has a liability provision? The town isn't liable for whatever
Always.
happens?
Always.
Okay. We just might wanna add that in, that they have a contract they have to fill out, they're fine.
Impaired. are required to include a certificate, and D, certificate of liability insurance.
Yeah, that's what they do, they usually do,
Would we put it in there, Kathy?
it's
Oh,
right
yeah, I
there.
put it in there, that they're signing a contract saying, and they include in that contract that we'll have liability insurance.
Mhm.
The contract says we don't have any liability.
Okay.
But that is the liability,
Yeah.
that you're doing, you're getting proof of insurance when you do that.
No, I think there's a contract too, right? Not just a liability insurance certificate?
It's a permit, you fill out the
It's a
application.
permit,
It's an application permit.
right, I mean.
But
and-
they fill out the form,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
I
then
don't know your
you,
process, so you tell me
you
what
sign,
it
you
looks like.
approve it,
Mhm.
and then do they sign?
We sign too,
Like
I've done it before,
a
yeah.
contract or something, or is just the permit is it?
Is the
approved
permit form
is it?
saying,
it's the
does it-
permit
in the
form.
permit form, it says that we don't liability for whatever activity they're running?
Right,
Okay,
Mhm.
then you don't need what I just said.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
It's the same thing, it's one
Yeah,
document.
yeah, that's one time.
And then they do the proof of insurance on a separate,
Yeah.
signature.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, this whole section may be something that doesn't really belong in the rules, because it's very operational.
It is.
So we almost maybe, this is more the policy document, we're gonna have to think about what's really procedure
Mhm.
for the office and get stripped out, but again, that's the next.
I think that's really operational.
Yeah.
But do you guys have an operational manual, just as a aside?
no, just this.
So
Mhm.
it
And we
might
have-
have been both for a long time.
Right, but I'm
so-
saying, I think going, when we look at this,
Yeah.
we're going to wanna strip out what's policy and what's really procedure.
I agree.
And that the office would have more of a procedure manual, and this would be really the governing document.
Yeah.
And the procedures, the office would have more ability to just update and change as appropriate without it requiring a commission vote.
Yeah, like the lifeguard scheduling.
Exactly,
Right, I agree.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so we will get there, we will get there, okay, and then courts, I think we worked on that in 2020, and so I thought that looked good. The only thing I did is just, match the definitions,
Yeah.
so I just used departments. Okay, so that's it. Whew.
Approved.
Nice
Okay.
job.
Okay, so I'll make those cleanups and we will proceed from there. So if we clean them up and get them out, could we vote on them next month?
There you go.
I think we could. Okay,
That'd be great.
okay.
But you're still gonna review them anyway. in this-
Yes, but in theory, we're not redoing these concepts. We're just redoing how we present
Present it.
them.
Yes,
And what
That's
isn't
fair.
really,
Thank you.
but what's operational and what's.
That's a great idea.
right,
Yeah, what's
that
policy.
really,
So, just,
yeah, operational to me
Pam.
should fall within Pam's decision-making authority.
yeah, she shouldn't
Right.
have to come back to us. She should-
Right.
But that should be accessible to her and her staff, and
Mhm.
should be kind
Yeah,
of somewhere.
Yep,
absolutely.
okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay. That's that, okay, we've done that. Okay, now we're on to the capital and ARPA projects that we need. So we really just listed things, like if something's done, we're like, okay, we didn't put it on the agenda because
Right.
it's done. So these are really just things where we need perhaps a little bit more input from the commission. Okay, so first is the Pear Tree Bathhouse improvement. Pam, you gonna, or Jim, are you gonna lead that?
I don't mind, I mean, feel free to jump in. What we've done is that we have approved the $50,000 budget, of which 10,000 is gonna go for the ADA, to be ADA compliant. So what we got back from from Jay is that they will, with that $40,000, will cover replacing exterior doors, so the outside doors will be replaced. They'll be ADA compliant, new hinges, holder, et cetera, deadbolts. They'll prep, paint the doors and frames. Inside the room, they're going to be doing epoxy floors, which are really nice looking with speckled floor. We have to come up with the color. I think we're looking at gray, maybe some blue in there or something like that. We'll also do the same thing inside the showers, which will be a different blend of color, so we'll set it a little bit differently. But I think the epoxy floors are going to look really nice throughout both bathrooms, both facilities. There'll be anti-slip sand will be applied evenly on the floors as well. Okay. Shower floors will receive the same as I mentioned. And as far as plumbing revisions, we're going to replace the existing manual faucets with battery-operated faucets. Sinks will remain. And I think both sinks were okay, they were both ADA compliant, right?
Mhm.
Weren't they? Okay.
They were just recently replaced, right?
Right, we
Yeah.
replaced them.
Yeah, mirrors were replaced recently, so all those things will stay. We're gonna replace the hot water heaters under the sinks, manual toilet flush meters with battery operated IR flusher meters. Demo the urinals in both the men's and women's bathrooms.
We don't have urinals.
Well, demo in urinal. Demo the urinal in the men's room, toilet in the women's room. Okay. And replace those, and then repair the block wall as well. Replace thermostats, shower heads, et cetera, in showers. And then partitions will also be replaced in both the men's and the women's room. And there'll be grab bars put on there, again, to be ADA compliant. That's pretty much it as far as what it's gonna look like. Painting, we're gonna paint the walls. The thought is that we would do blue, possibly from the floor to maybe 5, 6 feet high. Above that would be white, and then we would do some kind of stenciling where the colors meet to make it look nice as well. Did I miss anything else? The benches will be probably painted. Pam's crew will be able to do a lot of the painting, which will help us with the
As long
cost.
as it's a slow winter.
Yeah, okay.
Toilet paper holders, those being replaced, because I seem to recall one is like duct taped to the wall.
Yeah, I'm sure we can put that in
Yeah, it's probably something we can throw in there.
there. I mean, they don't cost $1,000.
Yeah, we have a little room, but yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that's not addressed in here is the lights, but we all know that the lights need to have covers put back
So
on them.
we're gonna have the guys do that.
Okay,
They'll
okay.
order those.
The workers will do that? Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll be replaced too. And,
I think that's why it's not in there, is because we kind of discussed that inside
Right.
the bathrooms, that our guys, they fall off, but the guys just have to reorder them, put them back up.
Okay, cool. So that's the inside. On the outside of the building, again, we'll get approval from the commission or whatever, but we're thinking about working with the high school art department to have a hanging mural maybe on the outside of that gray wall, make it look really nice. We'd have to make sure the neighbors are okay with that as well, but again, something for further discussion as to what that would look like, Darien theme, beach maybe, or whatever. But something to make the wall look really nice, and something that we can, I think by working with the high school kids, we can get some good PR out of this for both the art department at the high school as well as for the town. So-
A hanging mural or a permanent mural?
Well, we thought about doing the painting on the wall, but then we thought, well, after a bad winter, you're gonna have to repaint it again the following year. So rather than, we can go back and forth on it, we can either paint the wall if we think it's gonna last for a number of years. If not, we were thinking of maybe having something that would be adhered to the wall. And
Like we did before.
Yeah, remember we had that
Yeah.
beautiful piece that Tiara arranged for?
Yeah.
It was
That was
so
really
But I
pretty.
feel like maybe it could be bigger than that.
Oh, yeah, I think so too.
oh, it would be the size of the wall. I
The
think it'd
size
do
of the
something
wall.
really nice. you know.
Something
That's a great
seasonal
idea.
might be
It was
great.
too small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that again, Susan?
Seasonal, like,
Yeah.
that would change, like when you have a summer scene for the summer, in the winter something more, just to
Right.
mix it up,
Yeah.
Right, and that won't cost us anything. I mean, we'll get
Paint.
Rings End and others to donate the materials that we'll need to do that, so.
Can I
Our
ask you a question?
teachers will love it.
What's gonna happen with the current like kitchen and like that?
That's
and-
for a
and the
separate discussion, separate budget. We're thinking about,
First aid and.
we're thinking about gutting the current concession area and then knocking out the wall that faces across to the yacht club and where the boats are. And then there would be two permanent tables inside that you could go and be able to sit at those tables and, eat or hang out or whatever, so you're not, a lot of times the gazebo is occupied, you don't want to infringe on the gazebo, so now you have another place to go. So there'll be 2 tables in there.
Great
That's the
idea.
overall vision, but,
But we don't have.
depending on the budget.
Yeah.
Did we ever find out if your staff does the work, does that count against our number?
We wouldn't be able to do that.
No, you couldn't even get anything?
No way.
So it
Not
doesn't matter.
blowing out demolition of
It's
walls.
too much demo.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Even if we're just taking out the equipment, the kitchen stuff? Because the HUD and all that stuff, would someone take it and maybe do it for free?
I have no idea, but
mean,
that's
it's a lot
really
of
out of their
equipment.
wheelhouse.
I have a question.
Demo.
With the plumbing, why did you decide to go with battery operated faucets?
I just think that's the modern way of doing it,
No,
rather
'cause-
than having hand flush.
Faucets.
If it breaks.
No, because I
Talking
know
about
I have
sinks or
them.
toilets?
The sinks, because are you talking about, was that, you said faucets, I thought, right?
Yeah, I thought that was the toilet.
No, for the toilets.
It's battery operated?
It will flush automatically once.
Oh, it's like that thing, and
Right.
it uses a battery?
Probably
Um,
not battery, probably electric. I mean, like electric.
They call it battery powered. Well, you're right, Susan, it says faucets. So the faucet's probably gonna be as you put your hand, it'll be motion. You know, when you put your hand on a faucet, it turns on automatically.
So Pam's staff would have to kind of keep up with that, because they do, I mean, I have them, so I know that the
Yeah.
batteries get corroded, especially with the sea air. And it does need to be replaced a lot more, and if it's not working, it doesn't work. So once the batteries go out, if there's, you know, you have to.
We could talk to Jay about that, that's a good point.
That, I just found that I have them in a kitchen, and I'm like, always lamenting, my kids are like, the faucet didn't work, and I'm like, oh, God, I changed the battery, and it's
Yeah.
because it's been, you know, just something to consider, because that does add a layer of maintenance that maybe Pam's staff has to take care of, so.
I think the purpose was because those are more environmentally, sort of oriented, those types
Right.
of
It
products.
does
It was
say
probably
more.
no touch too,
Yeah.
the whole
Well, I
idea.
think the no touch
No
today
touch,
everybody's
yeah.
more sensitive to
But
it.
I'm just nervous that in terms of,
Right.
Maintenance.
Does it have to be
And-
battery operated just because it's sensor?
yeah, it does, it works on the sensor, you touch it, like, it's like really, it's kind of cool in theory, but I think in terms of execution, especially in a space that requires a lot of people using it, it might get pretty beat, you
Yeah,
know,
it's maintenance.
and that's the only thing I think to think about for Pam.
Mhm.
But the toilets are battery, oh, no, right, no.
The toilets are flush meters, they call it.
Uh-huh.
So that's when they just flush on their own after they're being used. They sense.
Is that
the
battery
toilet's being
operated
used.
too?
Battery powered.
Just another thing to think
Yeah,
about, it's
They
just
are battery
another,
powered.
I would just think, yeah.
I'll
That's a great
follow up
point.
with Jay on
See,
that.
air kills batteries, so.
Yeah, it does, it just
Yeah,
like
maybe
erodes
find out
them
if-
like quickly,
Yeah.
much quicker. And it happened to
We'll
be
find out what
just a
the
non-sea
alternative
air.
is,
Yeah.
and that whether that fits in the budget.
I mean, they're pretty common now, I mean, airports, I mean, so many places.
But they run electricity to them, they
Yeah,
don't,
that's
they
the
don't
point.
put
It
a
doesn't have to be
battery,
battery
nobody's sitting there
operated.
pulling out the unit.
Just because
and-
it's censored.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were built that way, but we're retrofitting, so retrofits are typically battery operated, because we don't have to, we'd have to run electricity to it and do all
Gotcha.
this stuff, and we're not gonna do that. But I wonder if we don't do that, I mean, it looks pretty expensive, that's why I asked, how much it costs. So I wonder if we did conventional faucets, it would be a lot cheaper and you could save some money doing regular faucets.
Right.
Because I've gone in there a bunch of times, I've never seen a faucet turn on, I mean, honestly, nobody leaves
The
them on.
alternative would be one of those ones where you push down the top, it runs
It just-
for 30 seconds and then stops on its own.
And that's pretty,
The faucets have been left on.
they have,
Oh, yeah.
so I mean,
That's not uncommon for some kids to go in there and turn on the faucets and walk out.
but then would you like to be getting a call, oh, the sink, nothing's working, or the toilet's broken because
Mhm.
the battery's dead? I don't know, if you'd like that, it's just your
Yeah.
staff time is gonna be involved either way by a lot, so, I don't know, just something to consider.
Yeah, I think that's a great thought.
Janet mentioned the aid room and things like that. The only thing we're focusing on now is the concession, basically in that area, because the police department has their own room down there as well, which they need to keep
So they still have that.
the lifeguards.
Yeah.
That all stays there.
And again, that's a whole separate project.
Budget, yeah.
That's a whole separate project, so that'll have to be something that we get priced out, and it won't be for this fiscal '25.
What's our limit again?
107, and we're spending 50 of it.
So we're already
have
spending half
57.
of our allowable limit within a 3-year period, so
Mhm.
we have no room to wiggle.
For emergencies.
Yes,
Yeah.
so if something fails in the bathroom, we can't fix it because we've
Right.
hit our limit.
That doesn't sound right to me, Pam.
If that's what I've been told, if a hurricane comes in and blows the roof off, and we've already spent the 107, we
I
cannot
understand that, but I don't think it means
maintenance.
you buy a toilet and it
I thought maintenance was excluded.
breaks.
Right, I agree,
Day-to-day maintenance.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's any emergency, like,
Yeah,
I think,
You could fix the toilet,
yes.
yeah.
but you'll be able to replace the toilet, maybe.
Yes,
Or
I
it's
think
not
so.
counting against that limit.
I agree, I don't think that has to do with that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when I'm talking about a big emergency to the building,
Bless you.
that's gonna cost a lot of money to fix.
So
Yeah.
If the building is
hurricane-
wiped out,
Yeah, a hurricane could wipe out the building.
Right.
right,
Yeah.
then
we can't just, within that period, you can't go in and just fix it at that point. It gets condemned and we're using porta potties until the town decides if they wanna build a two-story building, because
Then we have
if
to
that
be
building gets
compliant.
wiped out,
We
we have to go on.
compliant automatically.
We have to go on.
If we decide to have facilities at Pear Tree.
So I think the message we got is people were like, let's live with the building, take our chances, it's been there for a long time, hopefully it'll survive, and clean it up and make it more appealing for users. And then the key thing that people are concerned about were the bathrooms themselves.
And you guys are taking care of addressing it, which is great. Thank you, Jim. Really appreciate it. Hamilton.
So do we need a vote
Do we need a
to move forward on that? Because what's great about this company is that they are already like pre-bidded, so we could start the work.
Well, we can't vote. It's not on the agenda. It's not on, as a vote item on the agenda, so we can't vote for it.
Well, I don't know if we need to,
So
so,
can we just tell them that it's approved? I mean, I know you can't vote, but
Why would
Who
we
gives them the
vote
green
on
light?
it?
We don't know that we do need to.
I don't know that we do either.
I mean, really,
Because
it's.
as long as everybody's
Did we vote to
favor.
actually approve the capital project a long time ago?
Yeah, we voted
did.
to approve the capital
Yeah.
project.
So, I
And
don't
that's
know if
what,
we need to
that is the
vote.
capital
And
project?
we asked
you
for the
come
money.
back under
yeah,
budget.
now we're just taking
and-
this money from that, so.
I think we've approved it, so I think we're just saying.
It's an
as a
approved
committee-
project, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it really runs under the auspices of Pam's office.
Yep. We're just agreeing with what she's doing.
Yeah.
You're just
Really,
updating
You're just
us
getting us in,
on your
Yeah.
progress.
Yep, that's what it
Excellent
says,
progress.
update.
Okay, you're fine now.
I think.
ARPA projects. So I don't know if you wanna
Oh, yeah.
give a report.
We actually chose our playground vendor recently after looking at tons of presentations and having them present to us. And our committee met in person and decided to go with the same playground vendor we used for McGuan because he proved to be very reliable and responsive to Pam, which was really important, and he was troubleshooting the project, and we felt like that was an important characteristic. With that being said, he did provide us with what we felt like was a really nice looking design. I'm not presenting it tonight because our committee is still finessing it, and we might change some of the units out depending on, how it fits in the space. We actually have a meeting with the playground vendor tomorrow at 8:45 at Cherry Lawn, so that we can start talking to him about how is it actually gonna look, how high is it really gonna be, and get more visuals from him, and also get his feedback if we wanna expand certain sections that are flatter, if we can move things around. So the whole committee will be there tomorrow at 8:45, if anybody wants to join us. Are you coming, Kathy?
I don't know.
Okay, don't worry about it. But
And
it's
maybe
exciting.
we'll come for a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be great. But it should be pretty exciting. We're hoping to move forward pretty quickly after that. And then when we have a final design, we'll come back to the commission. But he's really bent over backwards. The structure, of all the vendors, he provided the most amenities, I think. And it's pretty creative too. We were very happy with his design. It's very different from McGuan, surprisingly. And, we're very happy with it. If you guys have any questions, let us know. But that's where we're at.
It's very cool.
It is very cool. I'm very
Yeah,
happy with
it's a
it.
great addition, it'll be a great addition to there,
I
and a
mean,
lot of hard work.
It was, but I think also the other thing that we're really committed to is bringing older kids back to the parks. We're finding that, the playgrounds have gotten very, especially we saw at McGuan, we had a younger generation, and once we put that piece that was more challenging, that is specified for an older group and signed as such, we had a lot of older teenagers come back and really enjoying the space, and that's what we want. We want to get more kids involved, and Cherry Lawn is a great space for such a big park. Why not let them play? And we have families with kids of all different ages. Everybody should be included. So it'll be more inclusive in that way. And also, we are gonna try to make it super inclusive. We're very fortunate to have a committee member who's very committed to helping us doing that. So we're trying to be as creative as possible to bring some of that inclusion back to the playground. We're also looking at maybe doing a brick fundraiser to kind of bring that path so it kind of meets the existing
The
playground.
path just stops.
What?
It just stops.
Yeah, it kind of
The
dies
pathway.
out, and it's not a great thing.
Right, so with continuing that would be handicap accessible
Yeah,
to
and that's
the
what
units.
So that hopefully is a brick fundraiser that we're gonna run off the Parks and Rec website. And we're hoping that a lot of people join in because so many residents have told us, oh, I missed that fundraiser, I missed this one.
That was 20 years ago
Yeah.
too, so there's
Don't tell
more
me it's been
different
20 years.
residents.
Yeah, that one, and then
So it's-
Weed Beach
Different
came.
kids.
Yeah,
Seems
exactly.
like everything's 20 years.
I know, it feels like that.
20 years.
Yeah, Baker's 20 years.
Went by fast, didn't it?
And with that subject also, I just wanted to mention that Kip Coons had gotten in touch with me. He's been working on the Oxbridge Elementary School, and apparently they're, for some reason, I don't know why they don't want the slide, but they have this embankment slide. So it doesn't hook up to a playscape, it's an embankment slide, and he's willing to just give it to us. So I did mention it to our vendor and to Susan, and I did go to Cherry Lawn today, and it could work. Right behind there's a hill that slopes down, and you don't,
We got a couple.
we're not
of
using it.
Yeah.
And so this basically says the curved embankment slide motivates fun activity for all children, those childlike at heart. The embankment run loop, children will run up and slide down again and again. Sliding on the embankment slide is an extra fun experience as friends can run up or down next to the sliding child. So I've never seen one, to tell you the truth, but it very well could work there.
Is it new?
Yeah,
It's brand new.
Oh, they just didn't wanna put it up.
Well, they did put it up,
Oh.
but I don't exactly know why. It's just not fitting in what they expected it to be
So are
or
we gonna
something.
deinstall it, or is it just something you pick up and move? I don't know how it works.
I'm not sure because I just had Sandy go take a picture of it, and what was important to me is whether or not we could use it.
Yeah.
And if we can use it, and I'll find out more tomorrow,
We-
then great, but if we can't, then that's up to them to remove it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
get rid of
we
it.
could think about for Baker, you know, I mean, we have a lot of spaces, you know, we could think about it. We just figure Cherry Lawn will get first dibs because that's the next.
Well, you
one.
need an embankment,
Yeah.
right? So
How
it's-
much of an
Yeah, Cherry Lawn
embankment?
Well,
has,
this is 15 feet
yeah.
long.
Yeah, we do have quite a couple.
Well, but
And I-
how high is the embankment?
and did I- Well, I'm not sure
Yeah,
about all
okay,
that yet,
yeah.
but I wanted to talk to the vendor tomorrow,
Okay.
and, but, you know, it would be use of that hill too, like, no one really uses the hill, but I can see the exercise of kids, you know, sliding down and running back up, just like you do when you sled.
What hell are we talking about at Cherry Lawn?
Cherry Lawn, behind the 5 to 12 area, it would be hard forever
It goes
us to
with the
use
invasive
any more
area.
additional land, because it goes down.
And I'm talking about.
It's an extension of the existing playground?
Yeah, behind it.
No,
kind
it's
of
a
near
hill.
The tire swing
Right.
past the
Past the
playground.
tire swing and
past
all
it.
down.
Oh,
down
all the way
that
down
way.
there.
And it just slopes down,
Oh, okay.
and this is what this is, it's an embankment slide, so it fit, originally I was thinking it would be neat to sink it,
Yeah.
like into the lawn, where you're actually
I was
sliding
thinking
down.
even along where we have that area where we have all that loose, that's the water comes down. I was like, that's already caused a natural
Well,
slide.
Sandy fixed that,
We did, okay.
yeah, he put some beams there, but
Ju-
anyways,
so
that's.
Yeah, we're thinking of expanding that area a little bit too, back that way, especially with all the successful invasive removal, we feel like there's so much space back there, visual and actual space, so we have a little room, not to make it, it's just a way to spread the users around a little bit more versus kind of keeping them in one tight area, so.
My question is a little bit different, is once you install playground equipment, when you remove it, sometimes it gets damaged.
Mhm.
So if they actually installed it, I just would like to know what it's gonna take to move it to the new place and whether that would harm it at all.
I'll have to find that out.
Yeah,
But the number one thing is whether we can use it first.
yeah.
And then if we're excited about it and it can work, then we'll, I know people have successfully used playgrounds,
Yeah,
but it is tricky.
It's tricky.
It's tricky because you
It's
have
brand
to,
new,
it's
too, though.
it's delicate.
It's a little different.
Sometimes
so-
it's just how they install it, unfortunately.
Right, because for instance, the playground we have now at Cherry Lawn, you know, it would be nice to repurpose it, you know, to maybe to some other area that was needy and didn't have anything, but it's time consuming, it's costly
And
to move it.
I called a couple of the shelters and they're like, sorry, we're not interested.
Mhm.
Just because they don't know what condition it's in
Right.
and they don't want the liability.
Right, so there's a whole nother area.
And I mean, we were thinking about it too, and our biggest concern is like with those types of situations where you're waiting for people to remove, we're gonna hold our time frame for our project, and we don't wanna be offline too long, especially for our residents. I mean, we're gonna be doing hopefully both playgrounds at once, so we cause as little inconvenience as possible, but we wanna keep the timing as tight as
Especially
possible.
that playground.
I know, that's our most
Yeah.
heavily used playground, and,
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
as altruistic as we wanna be, and to reuse, obviously, you and I are into the sustainability aspect. but
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure it doesn't affect our timing at all,
Yeah,
and,
It's really hard to find someone to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
but, I mean, honestly, the stuff is pretty well used, and a lot of it's staying. I mean, we're looking at ways to keep the tire swing, which is very well loved, you know, there's parts of it that we're gonna keep as much as we can. And we've already replaced like a lot of the 2 to 5 area, so it's not really that many units there, you know, so. We'll see. TBD.
So the Wee Beach paddle court, Jim and I have been anxiously awaiting approval to get through EPC, and somehow they put a hold on the application back in August 30th. And we were waiting to hear back because they could hold it for 14 days, but then we never heard back, so it was kind of this back and forth with EPC and the vendors about getting some answers to some questions on our application. So after back and forth, finally today we were just like, we need to get a meeting together, a Zoom meeting on Monday. We've arranged it, it's at 8:30 in the morning on Monday, and we're gonna have the vendor, the engineers, Dan Biggs, myself online to say, like, what do we need to move forward with this? So it's not gonna be a fall project anymore, due to this timing issue. But once, it seems to me like everything's in place, now we just need to check off these last boxes. So hopefully this could be a late winter, early spring project.
Has P and Z approved it? This
Yes.
is where I'm confused.
P and Z approved it.
Okay, it's like,
But EPC then went in and put a hold on the application with these questions, which we thought we had already answered. And so then they came back with some more questions, and it's just been kind of waiting for them to respond and then not getting a response. And now us constantly going back to them saying, okay, what do we need to do? So today we said, let's do it Monday to move forward, so. That's that. Okay.
but their delay means it's not getting in for this winter season, and we
It's not.
have a waiting list, and so we have
It's not.
community members who aren't getting to use it, residents who have been neglecting because
Yeah.
they
I
didn't.
know. No, it's very difficult when you're waiting on a vendor, and then he resubmitted his design, but then others had more questions, so a month went by, honestly, when it shouldn't have. So, we're on it now, which would be October 23rd, so then we'd have to go through that process of the meetings. Or actually building, once we get this set, all the questions answered and they're fine with it, building just needs to sign off on it.
Okay,
So we're that
P&Z
close.
The P&Z commission has
Done.
approved it,
Yes,
so
yeah.
now the,
It's just
EPC
building, EPC wants these questions answered.
but does their commission have to approve it? Or you're just saying the
No.
environmental protection
No,
officer?
just the officer. And
Okay.
then once he signs off on it, then it goes into the building. It hasn't even gone to the building director yet because of this hold. So once they check it off, check that box off, we can go to Mike Beatty. Okay. Okay, so shall we move on?
Yes, it's on the budget.
All right. So I did print out,
And can you, your new, the added ARPA projects that you wanna mention?
I don't have that on, but I can do that with my report.
Okay.
Let's see, so the budget, I know you have that one, but this is a project that's changing. It's a draft, right? So, there already has been some changes.
Oh, okay.
So I'll give you this. And I don't expect that there will be too many more,
Okay, thank you.
but,
So this is,
yeah, okay, that one.
Throw it away.
I have
So you have the newest?
Oh.
No, this is an updated one.
Thank you.
And Dell. So, you may remember last year that I attempted to be strategic in trying to request or propose a new position, a new full-time position. It did get cut. Kate didn't really understand the 3 different positions that we were toying together and using operating funds to pay for it. In reality, not only would it have helped Jim at the time, which was his request too, is he's having a hard time filling part-time seasonal jobs. It was the park monitor, it was waterfront coordinator, but also on top of all that was another body. And so when Lori came back to me this budget period and said, are you going to request or propose for another full-time position? My immediate reaction was almost like, no, but then the more I sat back and thought about it, and it really was because timing, it's like budget's coming, I have so much work, I have so many projects, but
That's why you need another
in
full-time
reality, having this recreation supervisor position that was approved years ago, I knew that with that new position, I would have to work much harder as well. Because with the event planning, you can't just throw somebody out there and you're the only one out there dealing with all these people and volunteers and stuff. So for the 9 new community events that we do, that's 9 community events in 10 hours a day that I'm doing. And there's nobody else to rely on. There's not another body in the office to rely on. We have an office administrator, we have an assistant director that does all his own fine oil lifeguards and seasonal things as well. And then we have 2 permanent part-time office attendants. That's it. So really, I feel it's timing now. I've watched Cassie for a whole year, and she has really done an unbelievable job not having been in this role before. But the amount of marketing and designing, and I mean, there's not enough hours in a day. So we've talked about the things that could come off her plate into a recreation coordinator, which if you look at other recreation departments in the state or even around us, it's kind of an order. It kind of goes recreation coordinator, recreation supervisor, you have the assistant director and the director. And then some departments have 2 program coordinators that do various things. So I would really like to, I put it in for $60,000. That doesn't include your benefits. But one other fact, I meant to print this out, but we did do a community needs survey, which we have about 900 responses. We're putting out another push tonight at 6 o'clock.
We got it.
Oh, did you get it already?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good. So I'm hoping for 1,000 or more respondents, but even with the first 900, it's showing the need. It's showing that the people really want more community events. That they're talking about all the programs that we have. And the amount of revenue, and of course that was something I had talked about when I asked for the recreation supervisor position, was that ultimately that position would bring in revenue, and it would net revenue. Not only would it bring in the gross, but it would bring back the net. So
It would also pay for itself, right?
well, we'll put it this way. I'm going to share with you what Jim pulled for me. Let's see if I have it right here in my email. So just fiscal '23. Now Jim's been with us a long time. He's got his bread and butter programs he's been doing for quite a long time. His fiscal '23 gross was $1,155,000, and his net was $238,000. The rec supervisor, Cassie, in her first year, she grossed $230,000. This is only programs. This is not events. She grossed $237,000 and she netted $47,500. So in 1 year, and that doesn't say stagnant, right? So am fully confident that not only will a program coordinator be able to do the same thing, and would also be able to assist with all these community events and help grow them, that it just would be, it's happening now. I think that the recreation supervisor position, I think our department has created such a huge impact in the last 6 years, that an impact that I've heard from community residents that, like, wow, like I didn't even really pay attention to recreation before. And the ability to be able to connect the community with these events is, I think it's imperative. I think people have seen it, they love it, they want more, and they want to be able to stay here in town and not go to other towns' events and programs. So I will have that data from the survey, and I have my revenue data for the last 2 years that we pulled, which I think is astonishing. And I'm gonna go for it and
Do you have a
hope
job?
that the commission supports me.
Do you have a job description?
We had the job description from last year's proposal, which will change.
Okay.
Because that last year's strategic agenda was to try to use the operating funds from the park monitor, and of course that's changed. So we were lucky enough to find a park monitor. When we hired the company to have a park monitor, it was like $33,000. When we hired the seasonal person, it really ended up only being 10.
Everyone loved the person at Reed Beach this year, by the way.
Yes,
Gotten tons of compliments.
yes. I don't know that we'll be,
Are
you
you
know,
talking about our park monitor or
Charlie.
the person at the gate?
Person at the gate.
oh, the gate. Well, that's good. That's good news too.
Tons of people that you
Yeah.
like.
So that's how I'm.
What was the, other than budget, what was the response by the town that, you know, in denying you to getting another person? Because you're so busy and you bring in so much revenue.
I don't think it wasn't that they didn't, it got to Kate. I think our commission all supported it.
Yeah.
It got to Kate, but Kate couldn't wrap her head around what this position would actually be doing, because it was a park monitor, a waterfront coordinator, you know, it had
It was an
too
amalgamation of
many,
too many things going on.
too many things. And I get it. I could sense it, because I think for me, it was another body. Never mind doing some of these multiple things. It was another body to help with all the things. Like, for instance, thank you very much for those that showed up at Rocktoberfest and helped. Because honestly, those are bodies we didn't have 2 weeks before that. And the amount of work that Jim did, he was out in the parking lot, Susan did out in the parking lot, Kathy was there helping with it. It was, and, yes. And you know what, it was so needed, and I thank you so much. But that's another reason why this position will be able to kind of zone in on volunteers and help with that. Cassie is running around
Yeah, no, she was.
with her head cut off.
She's got too much.
And even at that event, I had to be there.
Yeah, totally.
The property is so big, I couldn't go there and just oversee it. You have to work it. You have to be there at 8 and you have to clean up at 7 o'clock at night. It's just the way it is. Not that this program coordinator will take all of that off me, but I would be able to oversee more than I would have to be working 10-hour day.
Well, and it turned out not being the same day, which had pros and cons for you, but, you know, the morning before, we had the event at
Right.
Cherry Lawn, and, you know, Pam's gonna drive down, and she's like, can you meet me over there, and I need a table, and, you know, I'm up in the attic, and whatever, and we're putting out the food, and again, it's all falling on Pam, who comes with this beautiful catered spread, and.
It was really nice.
It was beautiful,
Yeah.
but this is all falling on Pam.
Yeah, no. I think it's great. I think you should
So
try to go for it.
I do too, and I think it's gonna just benefit our department. And I also, you know, looking into the future, I mean, we have space in our office to work it out, a space that they can be in. But we are on a roll,
No, you guys
our department, and we're doing really great things. And I do worry about burnout for Cassie. You know, I do worry, and you know, Jamie also is on the verge of burnout too. You know, I don't think she left because of that. I think she left for the opportunity, but there was some burnout crisis there too.
What, as far as ideally, what would your timeline be?
Budgeting wise, it would be a position that wouldn't be, we'd be able to interview if we got approved for maybe next September.
Mhm.
Because, July is not the time to take a person. Like Jamie left in May, it was tough.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a really tough time, so we'd get ready for September. And here's the other thing, seasonally, like we had Caitlin and we had Jack. And Caitlin was a superstar, she was great, but then she's gone. She's gone, and then all of a sudden we're left, like she's a kid that we had a teacher, we had a trainer, we had to tell her everything she needed to do every single day. Otherwise she would be going, what should I do? What should I do? Because it's not her, she's having training in it, but we needed that body. She was a worker, so.
I think one of the things that just because I work with you on 2 major committees, you have so much time in for the things that are really under your purview, which is like these committees, like and the ARPA projects, the capital projects that we're asking you to do, and you're basically helping us run these meetings and committees and getting all our vendors. That takes so much of your time, and then now we're saying, oh, by the way, we also need you to do these events. I mean, I don't know when you ever sleep. I mean, honestly, you do so much, and I think so many projects are coming to head for you that something is gonna, and it's important that you keep those projects that are really important, especially the capital things, and you talked about the paddle. I mean, how are you gonna be on top of that if you're worried about, do I need to do something for Oktoberfest, or the Christmas thing, or this or that, or holiday? I just think that's really important that you put that in front of Kate and the powers that be that make the decision that you're doing this now and you really shouldn't be.
And I mean, I'm vested.
I know,
it's
and I'm not
me.
saying
No,
that,
and there's
that's
no
that's not what my.
No question that you're not.
Right.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm
But
saying-
it's not the highest and best use of your time.
No, that's what I'm saying, is that
It's too much.
you're doing too much. You're talking about burnout, I'm worried about you.
Yeah.
And that, and I don't want any of our priorities to get missed, like maintenance, anything, because like, that's your real, like, that's the meat of what your job is, and the events and stuff, that's a nice to have, to be honest with you. But we really need to get these projects done and completed and done well. So I think they need to know that you need to help in order to do that.
Right.
And it's not your fault that you need help, it's just that there's a lot on your plate.
Right.
It's never been this much for anybody that's done, and I've been in this commission for so many years, and I've
Right.
seen what the previous director had to do, and you're doing triple, double that. And I'm not saying she didn't do much, but you're just doing a lot,
It's a lot.
so.
Yeah.
that's why I asked about the timeline. I mean, I understand that this budget's and all that stuff that we got to get through, approved, but this, you're going through another whole summer
Yeah.
of which you're gonna have to do all the grunt work.
Yeah.
If you got somebody on board by May or June, then they could be doing this,
Right.
picking up the weight.
Hopefully, if we're lucky enough, we'll find another seasonal at that time, like Caitlin. But again, you gotta train these people, because they're just college kids, coming in and looking for seasonal work. But that would be the plan, to try to find the seasonal and then hire full-time in September.
I think what Jim is saying is that, is there a possibility, even though you don't have a full-time position, until, we get the budget approved, but could you hire someone maybe on a part-time basis that could go into that position? Is that what you're saying, or am I making this
No,
up?
I mean, that's possible, sure. I mean, if you
Yeah.
can find the ideal person who's willing to do that.
But they who might want to.
Right, but we have seasonal money, but it doesn't start until, if we can find somebody in April, we always would, but it's so difficult to find part-time.
It's too hard,
Yeah.
okay.
It is hard, I mean,
they won't
lifeguard
get
is one
Part-time won't get
thing.
benefits.
Yeah, and they won't get
Yeah.
benefits, yeah.
It's hard to find somebody part-time
Yeah, it
that's,
is.
yeah.
What
So,
What can we do to help Lori, to support, once we approve the budget? We have to do that first. Once we approve the budget, what can we do to support Pam and to get her more help? But I think it would be helpful if we as a commission, said, look, she's doing more. She has more on her plate, she needs more help.
I
Other
think
than-
it's
Other
frankly,
than just.
Board of Selectmen.
yeah,
approving
coming
budget.
to the meeting, I mean,
Okay.
we'll have the Board of Selectmen meeting, where the budget is reviewed and they ask questions, I'm always there, I get up, I make comments, kind of highlight the things, talk about the commission's priorities and then tie them to what Pam needs to do, but certainly, the more of us that are, they're there, visible in the room and getting up and making your own comments and saying, this is what I'm seeing, whatever, this is what I'm hearing from my constituents, and our TM members can do that, our partners, I mean, you presumably hearing from your constituents about what they like and don't like with the parks. I mean, it's really, it's those voices, it's making noise.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Kate will, I mean, this won't be so difficult to wrap her head around. I'm not asking to forge 3 different positions in one. This is solely to have some support with community events and also to fill the gaps of programming that we can fulfill, but not on Cassie's plate,
Right.
Well, we
right?
need to bring the data. I mean, now we have data. I mean, all the events you ran over this last year, and we know what the attendance numbers were, where you sold tickets
It's
or,
also just the increased revenue.
yeah.
Yeah, oh, that
Right,
just,
I mean, that's the,
it's huge.
yeah, just carve out
Right.
from that, you
Right.
know.
Or if tickets weren't sold, just, observationally, we know when you had the band down there the night of the Stanford fireworks, I mean, there was no charge for that event, but
Right.
those of us who were there
Mhm.
know that beach was packed. And we know from the park monitor that people were turned away because there was no parking left.
Right.
But that beach was the most packed I have ever seen it. I've never seen it. I'm not saying a lot. It was crazy. It was insane.
Right.
But you've got these events, they sold out, we've had the attendance, so it's really using the data, it's gonna be using the data from the survey.
Mhm.
And saying, okay, this is what our community is telling us,
Mhm.
that they want these events.
Right. And even in the first year, like for Cassie at her, hired at 75,000, I mean, and she hasn't added in the community event numbers on that 47, but even if you add another 20 on that, she's basically covering her salary.
Yeah.
I mean, without the benefits, but
Yeah.
regardless, it's a
But that's
pretty,
the first year.
it's a first year.
Yeah, so you
I mean,
wouldn't
look what
expect
Jim's
them to cover
doing
the benefits.
At 20 years, he's bringing in $1 million
Yeah.
gross, well,
Amazing.
240 in net,
Yeah.
but that's a couple positions right there. So anyhow, in this budget, that's the biggest change in the budget. I did reduce the park monitor, so you can see in the security services, if you look on the change column, that's where you'll see the changes. So $24,000 I reduced in security services, but yet I increased 10 under seasonal temporary salary. Really, most of it is the 5,000 you see under seasonal, that's lifeguards. We're just assuming that they're gonna get that little bit of a boost from those that are returning. But nothing speaks, if we wanna look a little bit at revenue, there's some changes in revenue. The biggest, the $17,000 decrease, just for your information, is the Darien Arts Center. So they were giving $25,000 and they're just haven't had the need or wanting to spend the money, I think, but that's that big decrease there.
I'm sorry, I'm confused, what you're saying.
The rent to town hall,
Town hall rent, 17,000.
they used to give the town $25,000 and now they just have not, with their change of staff, they haven't had the same programming or use for the building.
So they don't have a fixed amount of rent?
No, I think last year it was like $6,000.
So they rent as needed, like a room or something?
Right, they want more, they got in touch with me and said, hey, can we get more space? But the thing is that the money hasn't shown that.
I'm not sure I realized that came to Parks and Rec as opposed to.
Well, it doesn't come to Parks and Rec, but it's in our budget, but it goes to general fund. But
No.
Which is all the money
Right.
that comes
Oh,
from
this-
Well,
Parks and
it's,
Rec.
it's all the money, okay,
Yeah.
but I'm sort of
But
surprised
it is a
that,
line item in our budget.
I'm surprised it's a line item for the Parks and Rec department as opposed to general admin.
Yeah, exactly.
Something.
Because it's rooms, rented rooms.
Yeah.
It's not the, well, I don't know, my last.
Yeah.
It's not the downstairs part, it's when they rent over by the senior center, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken. So it's room, because everyone goes through you guys. You have to go through
Right,
Parks and Rec
right.
to schedule the room,
Right.
probably that's why it's in.
So it just kind of makes sense.
And
and
they do
everything.
painting and all that stuff? They hold
Sorry?
those classes like for painting and things like
Not
that?
no, they do a lot of like ballet, karate in the
Right.
Mather Center. But that's not us, that's
Oh,
Darien
that's
Arts Center. Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Why are the program fees so dramatically different from 22 to 23?
It's 'cause of the way
because
they-
we just, it's an accounting thing.
It's an
We
accounting.
changed the way we account for it.
Right, because we had to end up going to RTM to get the blessing, because we had why do we need more money? Because had more programs and we spent more, we brought in more, but we also had to spend more, and it was just a whole big accounting mess.
The way they used to
Chunk it out.
account for, we
In terms
counted
of-
for program revenue,
Yeah,
and then we counted separately for program expense.
yeah.
So if the program revenue, we like did really well and brought in a lot of money, by definition, the expense goes up because you're paying your instructors
We didn't have
more.
enough money.
But we technically didn't have enough money, we were going over budget in the expense. So we would have to go to, it was just this wonky thing, so now they just, it's basically on a net basis.
Mhm.
Okay, I understand.
So that's why it changed
just
in
moves up
2022.
together.
Yeah, I get it.
It was very confusing.
It was
for a
very
long time.
confusing.
But it's totally confusing, especially since your expenses didn't change. Like, it doesn't make, you know what I mean, it doesn't match, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you're still accounting for the expenses in one spot.
Right.
Right.
Which,
Right.
again, it makes, so when you're looking at this budget, you're like, you guys are losing a lot of money, because it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
But your expenses are still here, that's why,
Right, right.
not pulled out.
So if you look at the revenue fund, that in fiscal '23, I don't have that number on there, it didn't populate, but it was like $280,000, so we brought that over into 2024. That's with the new accounting way. And then I'm saying if we got the recreation coordinator, that we potentially would bring in an additional 25 in our first year. That would bring that back up to 305,000.
Hey Pam, I thought that, I'm looking at permits here, for 22 versus 23, it's $700 off, less. I would think that was more people, more residents in town.
With boat
that would
permits,
have
where are
been
you
higher.
looking?
Well, it just says
Beach parking.
Beach
park,
permit?
park facility permits. Isn't that beach?
No, park
Oh, I see.
facility would
Beach permits are up.
be,
That would be the.
Oh, no,
That would
park
be like
facility
picnic
is,
areas,
is-
stuff like
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, picnic areas, all that,
Okay.
yeah. So it's pretty dull outside of the new position. I really went through it with a fine tooth comb, even Tamara and I did too, in terms of even like potable water. We really aligned every expense with every park and made sure that they were correct. They may change next year due to drought and more rain or, but
what's in here for, what is beautification?
beautification's $18,000.
Where would I see that, please?
You can see that.
It's on the tree, not, groundskeeping services.
Yes.
Groundskeeping.
Yep. It's in-
Grounds, field and building?
Groundskeeping
Keeping
services,
services.
Yep.
18,000.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
oh,
what it
that's
is.
what it is,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that is,
And then invasives removal would be where?
Invasives, Mary Louise, we talked about that last night, but 18, it's 15.
But where is
Where
it?
is that?
It is under, let me see if I can find it.
Is it tree maintenance?
No.
Groundskeeping?
Oh, that's 18. It's too many line items. Let's get this
Tree maintenance?
one, 15, no.
I don't see 15 here.
I don't think it's in here either.
I know it's in here, we're just missing it. It's right here, wait, under, I think it's under the facility repair and, let's see, what is that? Okay, it's right here, invasive removal. It's under facility repair and maintenance.
You're looking at something different than we are.
So, oh, right, because you're not seeing the breakdown.
Right,
No.
That's why, so it's under facility repair and maintenance,
Maintenance.
which is,
which of the pink categories?
it's under,
Ground,
Under
field,
grounds,
and
field.
building expenses?
it's under grounds.
Yeah, 96 and then 106.
Yep, it's in the facility repair and maintenance.
Facility repair and
It's wrapped up in
maintenance.
114,200,
Okay. And how much is for invasive?
15,000.
It's under the, 117,200?
And how much did we do last?
That was, it's under 114 is the new one.
Oh.
114,200.
And the question is that enough?
It's not.
Well, you know, we have to get the
Yeah.
quotes. I talked to
Yeah.
Sandy today about that. So we're gonna be getting some quotes about the additional tree work that needs to come down with the invasive trees of heaven. So if we can get some of those numbers before we finalize this, then at least we can then say, this is what we need. We only have 15.
We need this for the trees,
Right.
and then separately, we still want our 18 for just to continue.
Well, the 18 is beautification, so we have that.
Oh, well,
That's not in that.
the 15, so in other words, so
Right,
we say we
15.
want money for the trees of heaven,
Mhm.
and then separately, we still want our 15 to keep,
Exactly.
New stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what the working group is planning to do is go on some hikes in the next week or so with,
That sounds so pleasant.
what pleasant,
I said, that
Hikes.
sounds really pleasant.
Laura
Hikes, you said
Mosher.
hikes.
and by park and really assess, where, really to what level each park has invasive challenges. And then that will help us prioritize and
Thank
really,
you so
Updated.
much. Now another update.
and really, thank you, see what we need. Because we focused really on Cherry Lawn and
Weed Beach.
weed up till now. And she said, you really need to go now, and they still have the leaves and the berries. She said she's best able to spot things.
Just minor
Before they
things.
lose their foliage, so we're gonna try to do that and see how much of an issue we have.
Great idea.
I mean, there was an article that Patty or somebody shared with us, and I found it online today. I think New Canaan thinks they need about, what's it, 125 to 150
125,000
for Waveney.
For invasives.
for
And they're on
one,
top
for
of it.
1/4,
Of Waveney.
yes,
Yes.
Wow.
yeah.
And I know Stanford set aside 6-figure numbers too, so.
We should put that in front of the.
Okay, are we ready to move on to
We are.
capital,
Yeah.
so we can?
And again, this,
Yeah.
as I said,
This is the one, we just.
and I think also just to reconfirm too, I think that you and I had mentioned we would go see Kate and meet with her.
Yes.
So there's no surprises.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and so capital improvement, I just handed out an updated one today. I was kind of scanning through everything. And the reason my name and Sandy's name and Jim is listed in some of these is just that we're confirming the numbers that are on the right bit. So again, work in progress. I did take out the shade structures that was in Cherry Lawn just because we're doing this new playground right now. That we don't even really know what that looks like, so I'm not prepared to put shade structures in there right now, so I took that out. I also took out the fence that would go around the oil tank at Weed Beach because we got a quote to put this nice black fencing around it, and it's within our small capital of 5,000, so we're using that and getting it done now. So I wiped that out. Any other changes on here? No.
Now, under Cherry Lawn, pave the overflow parking lot. You don't have a dollar figure in to move ahead with that, correct?
No, because I'm still working on a quote.
So isn't
We-
that part of the traffic study, I thought?
Yeah.
I thought that was part of the traffic study, that we wanted
Is-
to do the traffic study before we changed the parking lot. I
And
might
that's
be-
fine too, I can wipe that right out. If I forgot that, I apologize, but I know the traffic study, I just have to get a number from, I'm gonna go wait to Dan
Yeah.
Biggs.
I thought the idea was that we wanted to see how everything flowed, make
Yeah.
sure we know where the cars are going, where
Isn't
the
it more
problems.
than a traffic study then?
Yeah.
Because a traffic study implies that you're gonna have like meters counting the usage and stuff like that.
That would be part of it,
Yes.
but not all of it.
But that's the traffic study. But a little bit of it is planning the
Like
way,
engineering.
like the roads and making sure that the flow is there. And that's, I don't think of that as a traffic study, do you? That's a little different.
We can call it whatever, what we.
Like something that's broader. I just don't wanna keep it too narrow.
Right.
I agree with you, I think the whole
Like a
idea.
comprehensive
Yes. Parking, traffic study.
parking flow, traffic flow study.
Yeah, it's like an
Perfect.
like,
Maybe
yeah.
Dan can give you
Yeah.
Yeah, he can give
what
us
you
the
call
wording,
it,
but I
the
just don't
idea
want
is
it
to
to be
really
counting
look at
cars.
the roads
Yeah.
Right.
as designed in the park and where the parking lots are and whether that's
Need to be
appropriate or
reconfigured.
not and meets current safety standards.
Right,
Yes.
and the pave, I'm gonna continue getting the quote for paving the overflow lot, because it doesn't have to go in fiscal '25, we can push it out, and we can take it out altogether, so just gotta get the quote anyway.
But what she's saying is that we might decide that's not what we're gonna do.
Yeah, of
based on the
course,
study.
exactly.
of course.
So there's
Based
no
on the
point to
study.
put
And that's
something
fine
in,
too,
like,
Yeah.
but I do think we should get a number on it, just to find out what that,
you know, I just think from a sequential point of view,
Mhm.
just getting the first piece done, and then we figure out what we need to do in the future.
okay, there's
Too
it's
many
one less
things
thing off my plate.
Yeah, that,
You have
I
to cross
agree
it
with
off.
you.
have it come out for
Yeah.
now.
I'd rather see that
Okay,
piece
so let me
done.
take that out,
Yeah,
that's fine with me.
and I can't believe we're repairing the basketball court already.
Yeah, that, I just think that was like $10,000. How
I
much
just
did it
put that
cost?
in, I just put that in, I don't know, that's,
Is it broke, I mean, are there?
I was
Caught
there
your
today and
fire
took a picture,
cracks.
and there's a crack right down the middle of the court from hoop to hoop.
And then it wouldn't be on
Isn't there
warranty,
some
or-
warranty?
No, because, no vendors will warranty asphalt. Asphalt is
'cause
mixed
not
with too
post-tension.
many things now. It's
Post-tension.
asphalt,
So your post-tension stuff has the warranty.
post-tension's
not-
concrete. Yep, and they'll warranty concrete, but they will not warranty asphalt. It's mixed with so many things now,
Mhm.
millings and other stuff, and they,
How deep is the crack, I mean, how wide is it, I should say?
oh, it's not a trip hazard or anything like that, but I put it in here because that's next year.
But does that mean,
So-
that's a lot of money, like.
10,000 might be overkill, I threw an arbitrary
Super
number in.
used,
But it's patching, it's patchwork.
Yeah, it's
And we've
patchwork.
already had it patched, if you go down there and look, it was already lightly patched. You know, when we first
It
started.
just moves a lot. 'cause of
It
the space.
does, and it's gonna move in the winter. So it's amazing that the pickleball court isn't as cracked as it is, because
Is that
that's
also
an
asphalt?
old, that's asphalt, it's been an old court,
It
yeah.
might be because of the drainage, what
You
the
know,
water does.
maybe so. So, you know, I just figured we better get it in there, whether it's next year or the year
Maybe you just
before.
need a new paving machine in your capital budget to repave all these things. I mean, it's a lot. You need to put
I
those
will
holes.
also say that the guys took out 36 total stumps already with the stump remover.
Oh, love it.
It's already paid for itself.
Great.
Great.
Yeah. So I'm happy to take that out.
I thought we were thinking of not doing the pond treatment, or have we talked about it?
I just left it in there because, I know that.
Is that gonna be an agenda item? Because you did give us some research, right? That,
Yeah,
you gave us what is in there and.
exactly. I can
And
put it
that
on the
the
agenda
treatment might
for
have-
next month, because, they're, obviously the company, Pond and Lake, is saying that it's not harmful to wildlife, what they put into it. But there's also other ways of treating algae, which is, aquatic plants and different ways. So again, I just left it in there, we can take it out.
Did the aerators help?
The aerator, the pond is clear. The aerator has, I don't think it's a miracle, I also think it's cold weather, it's a lot of rain, but it's clear. The aerator's done a great job, but I don't think it was everything. And that did not have any blue-green algae. It looked pretty nasty, but it wasn't harmful.
And have we had the water tested to know,
I did have the water
okay,
test.
so we know exactly what it is?
Mhm. Yeah.
And it is the
It's a blue-
cyanobacteria?
Right, that was in Tilly, not in Cherry.
Cherry's different, right?
So what's in cherry?
Cherry lawn is just a,
Build up of, right?
yeah, it's just like it's a green algae, but it's not harmful algae. It's not a blue-green
It
algae.
didn't smell like the
No.
one at Tilly.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the-
like what's in Woodland Park, it's a natural algae that grows
Mm.
from the heat.
Right,
and
right.
summer.
Humidity and,
Yeah.
So it's not pretty,
No,
but
it's not.
but the aerator should help move the water
Mhm.
during the heat. And I'll tell you that once the sun gets on that solar panel, it has a nice spray. It's good, it really looks pretty.
It's a pretty large panel, I didn't realize how big.
Yeah, it is a big panel.
And it's like on that side, it's like very public, it's too bad. we
That's
didn't-
because the
That's
very
where the sun
first
is.
hole, the first hole they dug, they hit ledge or something and they had to move it slightly, so it wasn't their first spot.
Yeah, if you could send the information about what is some of the indirect consequences we're not thinking about with the pond treatment is.
Yes.
Because there must be, it's
Of
I
course.
like the
basically
natural idea that there's certain plants we could put in that maybe could help
Mhm.
too, because that is like a long-term solution.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily something you have to do every year.
Every year, right, which is a cost
Yeah.
factor, yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
yeah.
Especially with the nature center there, it should attract wildlife.
Right.
Security cameras are for everywhere on the backside. Weed Beach, we talked about security cameras, I think they
The
wanted them at
beaches.
each of the parks. I don't know if that's something you wanna do, but.
Well, Jim got this number quite a few years ago, that's why it has to be confirmed, whether it's even, and then of course that's a big discussion whether or not there's privacy issues and
The town has to, yeah.
they have security cameras all over Great Island right now.
They do, well, then
Yep.
they probably had well, no one's on
And the
Great Island.
schools.
Oh, no, there's a lot of people
There's a
that
lot.
are breaking the rules and they're
Okay.
being caught on camera.
It's gotten better, I was just at a
Okay,
meeting, it's
okay.
gotten better.
That's what Ed said.
The
So
town
what do
just
they do
needs-
if they break the rules? Like, they
I
just,
don't know,
do
I-
police go over right
Yeah,
away when they see
yeah,
people?
they send people, yeah.
Oh, they send people as soon as
Yes.
they see people?
Mhm.
So the question really
But the
isn't
schools
that
have them
they,
as well, I'm told.
yeah, the question isn't whether they can use them or not, but what happens to the data and how it can be accessed, because it's a government use of a security camera. And so the town just needs to have, and maybe they already have it, some type of
Policy.
policy about it.
Right.
We always have to notify people that they're being recorded.
And they have to notify people that they should notify people that they're being recorded, and that is a deterrent. Sometimes.
So I'm sensing that we should perhaps leave it in.
I think so,
Yeah, I
we've had
think-
enough vandalism issues.
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm the lone person who doesn't.
Yeah, and I
like it,
saw
so.
those kids with the ATV, the golf cart rolling around and tearing up the grass in the back area. And that's one of the things, because we don't have a guard there like that long. I mean, we have a guard there longer than most, the Pear Tree, and that's a concern,
But the
right?
vandalism that took place at Cherry Lawn alone, I think speaks to that we need to have cameras.
Yeah, it's tough
Well, it
though,
will
because we
be
get a lot
this-
of kid traffic, little
It's a
kid traffic
decision of the
there, which is a
commission
little
whether you
hard.
want cameras
Harder,
or
it's
not.
harder gonna be a thing at Wheat Beach.
Definitely the high trafficked ones, I would think. Until where there has been
There has been.
vandalism.
It's really more of a town issue, what they
Yeah,
want.
I think we just have to, as we go through, then we have to work with the town administrator and legal counsel, whatever.
Yeah,
That's good
and
call.
figure out what they, what their concern is, and I think the question is, do you wanna start at Weed this year, see how it goes? And then next year, look into doing it in the other parks, or do you think there's so much vandalism at Cherry Lawn that we should look there? And that's a question, because we've had vandalism at Cherry Lawn a lot this
I
year.
am worried about the newly repaired court after the.
I mean, pickleball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the newly done tennis courts too, I mean,
Yeah,
we'll have the same issue we have with the pickleball courts and.
yeah.
No, but I mean, the same person that,
Oh, of course,
Did it
sees,
before,
yeah,
it's
sees it's
gonna-
cleaned up now.
Right.
Tag it again.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge for you.
Was it
Do you catch
$3,000
people on
fix?
camera? Like you get a guy in a hoodie doing, like you maybe see the car
Right,
license plate. I
right.
mean,
Well,
these kids are pretty smart, or persons.
no one's gonna be watching the cameras, so if it happens at night, you're just gonna have the police see if you can know who it is if you get the car.
Right.
But that's typically probably when your vandalism happens that night. So you're not gonna have someone monitoring it. So the next question is, what can you capture, and will it be a deterrent? And it might be.
Right.
So.
All right.
Great.
or motion sensors.
Right.
You know what you
Lights
use
come
those,
on.
Well, that's been suggested as well, is whether you have something with motion sensor lights, so
Yeah.
that,
Right.
That's not a bad idea.
on the courts or.
It's a
certain-
deterrent.
So that at least, if we're also invested in the cameras
Yeah.
actually capture something.
Right.
Yeah,
Please,
But then you may
Hunter
have
use those
issues with
wildlife
neighbors
cams.
for lights.
yeah.
that they just.
Well,
sense.
Yeah, but
apparently
that's
there's ones
only
that they kind of come on
temporary.
slowly, they sort of start light and they get brighter and brighter and whatever.
But
but-
then if there's animals, that gets that.
Yeah, it's all
involved
night
too.
long.
Yeah.
Then the neighbors will be like, oh, I see lights going on and off, and
Yeah,
they'll
I
freak
know.
out. It'll annoy them, trust me, I have that. It annoys myself, so.
All right. So, would you like to?
Do we have we talked about it earlier, the repair of the pole hand,
Oh, I-
the backboard,
Backboard, I asked Sandy to get a quote for me.
but I don't see a line item.
No, I'll add it.
I'm afraid if there's no line item that we're gonna
Right.
forget it. What was the other one, Adele?
That was Jerry Long, the parking, the study.
The
Oh,
study.
right.
Traffic study.
Yes,
That's
there.
You covered that.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so Holohan is down on the bottom, I'll
Yeah.
add that.
walked by McGuan this week, I tell you, it looks really nice.
Doesn't it look great?
Really nice, the planters are in.
Mm-hmm. You
Yeah.
never, you never think that there was 4 huge trees there, but the planters are gorgeous. They're like 5 feet tall, 5 feet wide, and I would imagine maybe getting the beautification commission or the garden club to guide us, and maybe do a presentation here at the commission level of what they could plant in there, that would come back every year. And even they rebuilt the entire retaining wall that was crumbling, that is, if you were standing at the concession, it would be to the back of you. If you're staring over it, you'd be looking at one of the fields, but in between the entire retaining wall, they also left dirt so that there could be plantings put in there as well. So it could really be beautiful.
Should we
With the right
reach
plants.
out to the garden club?
Yeah, yeah, I'd like them to do a presentation here.
Okay. And they did Tilly for us, it's been a couple of years now.
You get your ARPA, when you get your 500-gallon
Water tank.
water tank.
I know, right? Oh, by the way, we did get approved for that. So we got, of course, I was gonna do that in my report. I'll do that in my report.
Okay.
Follow.
Okay, we good on this, everybody?
Okay,
Yep, and then we can do fine tune after we do the parks tour.
Okay.
Right,
sounds great.
right. With this in mind, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
fine.
Okay.
Or if anything else really jumps out at us. Okay, Pam, your report and then my report, and we can go here.
I have actually
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Is there anything that was like, needs to be voted on?
No, nothing to vote on.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I guess we got that too.
We have the discussion of the docking.
Oh, we have to
Mr.
go to the
Freight,
docking.
Yeah, I saw that, that was.
Yes, can we do that really quickly?
Oh.
That was next, that's next,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
There have not been any problems.
Does that, is that a, to be
Is
voted
there?
on?
Yeah.
There's been no problems, we just need to reaffirm it. I think where it may become more of an issue is if we get approval to rebuild the boat dock, and it becomes really, it'll be out of commission for a while, and then it'll be really usable and maybe more used by the community, we will have to, I think at that point, we will
Okay.
need to revisit, but, so this would be just to, reaffirm the freight's use of, that one side of the dock, basically over the winter, as we're from November 1st to April 30th, and we'll revisit in the spring.
I make a motion to approve.
Kathy,
Second.
Mary Louise, all in favor?
I'm gonna abstain, thank you.
But everyone in favor is?
Abstain.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Thank you for catching that. Okay, your report?
So, I don't believe I have much to add, I'm just looking through here. I did mention that the whirl is in place and the kids are completely enjoying that. As Jim mentioned, the picture I have in here is prior to them cementing the entire patio, but it just looks beautiful. When you get a chance, please do go down there. They finished today. Let's see. I guess I'll just say another shout out to everybody, Kim and Jim and Susan and Kathy and Lori who helped, and Mary Louise for the,
Pam and Patty, they were there.
yeah,
too.
Patty and,
Kim?
yep,
Kim, I'm sorry.
and for Oktoberfest and for the gazebo ribbon cutting. I honestly can't thank you enough because there's just that stress running from one to the other and knowing that I had some help was just really, really fantastic.
Congratulations, moving everything on a dime.
Yeah, thanks, yeah. And I'll tell you, every single event we had this summer into the fall, every single one was weather-related issues.
Mhm.
And it is grueling, it is so grueling.
It's hard to pivot, yeah, to make that decision.
Yep, and every single one we made, we pulled it off,
Yeah.
every one of them,
So
so.
you and Cassie have done a tremendous job, seriously, and the amount of work that you put into it, and like you say, having to reschedule these things.
Yeah,
Saturday would have been
yeah.
wonderful, but it had to be done on Sunday,
Yeah.
still a big crowd.
Mhm.
Fantastic job, really
Thank you.
pulling it all together.
And then yesterday, then we flew out to Dallas the next morning.
Yeah.
And then, so then of course we get back from Dallas and both Fords were packed with like tables and chairs and, I mean, just you name it. So Cassie had an hour and a half pulling everything out,
Oh.
putting it away, because it was just us. we can use that extra body. You wouldn't, no, so, no, I'm good, that's all I needed to say about that, unless there's any questions.
Just the ARPA.
Oh, ARPA, sorry. So yes, ARPA went through, it was last night, Adele? Yeah, last night?
I think yesterday, you were at the selectmen's meeting, right?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
So it was on that.
It was on that,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it went through.
Right, it did. So Patty texted me too. So we got the brush cutter, which is gonna be unbelievable help for all the invasive work. And Weed Beach, Meadow and Trail, it's gonna take off a good chunk of money on that project as well. And we got the 500-gallon water tank, and we got the
Trailers.
3 large trailers to store all our backpacks and mowers and everything that we have to pull out in threatening weather because of the loss of all the equipment when it flooded. So the trailers will help just, put the equipment in the trailers and they'll be right outside.
So you'll keep them there all the time?
Yeah,
Okay, so it won't ever be in that area that can be flooded?
right,
Got it.
right.
Speaking of storage, what do we do with the Adirondack chairs that are at the beaches in the winter?
They get pulled in storage.
They do go to storage, okay. Do we consider painting them again? I mean, they've probably never been painted since we bought them years ago.
They're made out of that plastic.
Yeah, they're made out of plastic.
Yeah.
They're not really, I don't think you would paint that. We did, however, have a crew member who built some, and we had all those painted, and they looked nice for a little bit, but then they weren't commercial.
They
These are commercial.
power wash them too.
Yeah,
They're
these
made
are-
out of that
They can be power washed?
composite. It's almost like a
Yeah.
composite. It's heavy duty.
They're
It's
heavy.
almost like a Trex material.
So
Okay.
we have
So it's-
$1,200 in the budget to buy more. And so it gets passed sometimes during the year where you're like, oh, we didn't order more, but we'll start to take inventory, because I don't know, some walk sometimes.
I mean, they're well used.
They are well
Well
used. But I have, even on our needs assessment, there was like, get more Adirondack chairs. So there are a lot of great island suggestions too, so. Your turn.
My turn, okay, the Perks tour schedule, we had talked about the priorities, so I pieced it together. We'd be starting at Cherry Lawn, 8:45 arrival, 9 o'clock, so we can get moving. I allowed 30 minutes for Cherry Lawn, then 30 minutes for McGuan, 20 minutes for Baker, which you were worried was a little bit short, 20 minutes for Houlihan, 25 for Weed, and then if we stay on schedule, which is questionable, up to 25 at Pear Tree. So, do you think that's all right? You were concerned maybe Baker, that you thought we needed to walk through the woods?
It's always, I think it's important only because some of the boards are busted and sometimes you're not walking. We've had some complaints about that trail system too, so.
Yeah, I mean,
So it'd be worth
we've
it
had
to
it,
do it.
an Eagle project, I mean, we've had so many scouts, it just gets, because there's water back there, so
Yeah.
things move and
It was a scout project.
it's been
It
a handful, and then we've done cleanups through the Cub Scouts, it's
And of
just
course,
like-
even that message board.
Yeah, we
is
got
kind
rid
of
So then we
messy,
would
and-
need 30. Do we need 20 minutes at Houlihan?
No, I don't
No.
think
I think we probably need about 15.
Yeah,
So add 10 and
there's not much to look at the backs.
I'll leave 10 at Houlihan. So make it 30, just 10 minutes, quick stop at Houlihan. I mean, it's right,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so close. We can just scoot ski over here. Okay, and then Weed Beach and then Pear Tree is sort of like if we don't fall behind, which I can't
and
remember.
that's November 11th.
November 11th when we ever didn't fall behind. So this is basically ready. I just wanted to clean this and then we'll get this posted.
Will the bathroom be locked at Pear Tree already?
It's
If we wanna
already
go into
locked.
Already
the,
locked.
so if we go, are we gonna be able to get in?
There's a
Get
porta
there?
potty, but I have a key.
Yeah, so
No,
we
the
wanna
water
see
be turned off, no.
I mean, would we
No,
wanna
she
look
wants
at
to
it?
see it.
Oh, to see it.
Yeah, Naomi
I
likes
mean,
it.
I've been in there recently, because I
Of
did the
course, I'm
tour,
thinking
I
use
did,
it.
No, you
after
always
that
let us
lady
in.
complained, I
Yes,
went in
yes,
and
she
checked
has-
it out.
No, she always has keys.
Yes, I have keys.
No, I just
I thought
thought,
you meant to
maybe
use
the
that.
commission
No.
would want, no, I can help them, I live around the corner. I
Alright.
was just thinking from just looking at it, just to see.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, so I'll make that adjustment and then we'll get this posted. Cara sent out the survey. She wanted to remind everybody that you have to do it all at once.
Right.
Yeah, like you
The
can't,
2 parks that you're assigned.
plus
the
plus
5.
your input
Plus
from
the
the
5.
tour. So you have to kind of do it all at once. So
Plan it
I
well.
would recommend that everybody do the parks that they're assigned to individually before November 11th, but you can't go in and fill out the survey until you have it for all, but just
Okay.
make your notes. So that you're ready, ready to fill it out. And she, our tour's the 11th, she absolutely positively needs them by the 18th, and she's not gonna extend it for anybody. So
November
they-
18th.
Yeah, so a week. So ideally, people have done their own parks before that. We do the parks tour, and you can knock it off right away, because we're very late this year. Last year, we went in late September, and here we're already in the budget,
Okay.
and this is supposed to help inform our budget, and
Right.
it's really late, so.
Fair.
We just need people to get it in right away. So, but everybody got, she just made sure everybody got the email.
And what is our November date for the commission meetings?
15th.
15th.
Yeah, so she can't even really have it assembled for our November meeting, so we're really not getting December, so,
But maybe we could do, I don't know if we don't feel ready, or maybe we could do a special meeting if we have to. If something comes out of that we
Yeah.
really wanna change.
Yeah.
Maybe
We may have to.
The Zoom meeting.
yeah, we can always do a Zoom meeting, but yeah, we're very late this year, but October just didn't seem to work well for everybody for some reason this month. Okay, so you all got it from Cara, do it all at once, please complete your unit deadline, no exceptions, okay. Great Island Committee update, not a ton, we just met right before this. Voted to do a couple of maintenance projects. There's one of the houses has a pool that apparently has no fence around it, so we're gonna put a fence around it. And the barn needs some roof work done, voted to approve that. Ed and his staff continue to work on the continued remedial items. He's working on the plans for the access road. That was pretty much it. Kate made a presentation about the process for going out to select an outside vendor that would help with all of the sort of the visioning and the planning and the community input, which is very similar to what we did when we selected the vendors, both Weston and Sampson, for both the Parks Master Plan and then also the Pear Tree Project. So, similar process that they'll
Did
be
the
going through.
sunflowers work for the,
It didn't come up tonight.
it did not.
It did not come up.
I thought they were eaten.
I think the sunflowers were eaten, but the shard and another plant did okay.
Okay,
And they were, taking the leaves out to be tested.
okay.
But it just didn't come up tonight. So nothing too much. The Coastal Commission was supposed to have met Monday night, but the meeting got postponed until next Tuesday. No update there, other than Bill Cavers, who's the chair. A couple people in the last month or so sent a picture of, pear tree with the water up to the guardhouse. I was like, oh, the town needs to do something about this. I'm like, we know. And then somebody came back and said, well, what if we dredge the channel and use that to fill the parking lot? So different inquiries have come in. So Bill was like, maybe we should provide the Coastal Commission with sort of a session on this project. So I reached out to Mike Scrow about that. He thought it was a good idea, but he and I both felt if we're gonna do that you probably want either Dan and/or Craig Flaherty there, in case technical questions come up. So we didn't think we could pull it off for next Tuesday's meeting, but Mike was gonna run out to Dan and see if he could do it for the November date, and ideally have him do it using this properly so that he wouldn't have to drive all the way down from Albany.
Dan, has a family crisis right now too.
Oh, okay.
So he's,
Oh.
he's, even with our Weed Beach meadow, I just told him, let your office handle it, because he's gotta get the application in.
Okay,
So yeah, it's
okay.
a little dire.
Okay. Well, let's swear to
Yeah.
the camera, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. But anyway, so they've expressed interest in that project. The gazebo dedicated, it was so lovely. I don't think any of us perhaps fully understood that This was effectively the family's memorial service
Yep.
for Mr. Dordelman.
Yeah, it was.
Um,
They didn't have anything during COVID.
3 generations of the family were there, none of the it was really, really lovely.
They came from like Texas, or I mean, they came
All
from all
over the
different
place.
places.
30?
Maybe
30, at
30.
least
No,
30.
it's really over 50.
Oh, is it 50?
And it was I think it was a Darien High School reunion weekend or
Yes.
something, so some of the
Alicia
friends for the
Silas was there.
reunion came, and it was lovely. It was really, it was very, very touching, and when his widow saw the plaque, I almost lost it.
Yeah, the best thing was she took those scissors and
Yeah,
she cut that in one swipe. We were afraid she wouldn't be able to cut the
Yeah.
ribbon, and she was able to cut right through it with not a blink of an eye.
but she was so moved by the plaque, she had
Oh,
not
yeah,
seen
she
it.
was
It was really lovely, so Pam, thank you so much,
They
because,
loved it.
I mean, you really went to the effort to have, muffins and bagels
And the
and
curtain.
juice and the curtain and the ribbon, and then the daughter, with prior approval, brought Prosecco.
Correct.
And it was just so nice, so thank you
You're welcome.
for that
That's great.
that extra TLC that you gave the event. I think they were very touched that, the town really made an event. So it was super nice. And then, Pam and I and Susan went to the P and Z hearing for Weed Beach, and that's pretty long. So, but the questions were very technical in nature, very, very technical. It wasn't like the merits of the project didn't really come up. It was just very much about the flow of the water and the invasive species and all of that.
And no resistance.
Yeah, there was no.
There was really no resistance, so that was it. So that's all I've got.
Yay!
Is
Adele's
there
got some.
answers to the questions about possible effect of storm water on near water?
Dan actually answered that, I believe, and he basically said that he according to his plan, it wasn't gonna.
If anything, it's gonna protect it.
Yeah,
The dunes,
it's
the
raising-
dunes are gonna protect it.
Dunes, and then the raised higher ground that goes that way, and they had a lot of questions related to the dunes and how that would impact, and it
Could
came out
positively
favorably.
impact the
It was
neighborhood.
favorable, because you're basically raising that property up several
I
feet.
understand, but I realized that there were questions, so.
No, and he answered them during P and Z, and they didn't really go much further than that. And
No.
there's some other things that weren't, so. Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Great.
it. Motion to adjourn? To adjourn, Kathy? Second, Jim, all in favor?
Yes, I gotta drive home and get here early tomorrow.